And we are live. Perfect. W. Awesome. Love to see it. We're here. What's going on, everybody? Listeners at home. Today on In Deep with Johnny Boy, we have a special guest, Christopher Ignas. He is currently a recovering topical steroid withdrawal patient. I know it's a handful, and I didn't know it was really a thing, but it is a thing, and that's what we're talking about today. Anything with health, you usually know that I'm in it. I'm in deep. I know I don't look like it, but I'm coming back. Don't worry. As we wait, introductions and sponsors are, we're sponsored today by Heartland, a.k.a. Tampa-based Florida videographer and editor and photographer. Known the kid since high school. I did that purposely so I could show you. That's him. For all your needs for any filming, if you're a barber or whatever your craft is, if you want to capture it, he can do it 100%. His niche is more in the car scene, but that doesn't mean he isn't good at anything else. If anything, he's actually better in other fields, just because he comes at it with a different approach, which is nice. So that's our guest, and today we have on audio levels, and a current guest hopefully would be Jeremy. No, you can't see him, but he's behind. We'll get Jeremy a mic as well. Don't worry. Eventually, once production value goes up a little bit more. So in between the time of waiting for our guest, we're going to talk about last night, which is always a plus. UFC. Jeremy wasn't there to see it. Can you hear that? No? Okay. Sorry, listeners. We have a Roomba in the back doing its job. We're going to go ahead and turn it off right now. Yes, UFC last night was a big card. Unfortunately, it was a little bit of a downer. I'm not going to really speak on it too much. I am going to speak on it, but I'm not going to say all my answers are definite and my reviews are definite because I like to watch things multiple times so I can get a unbiased opinion of it and really break it down. So I'll give you my original reactions of what I thought it was. So we'll start off with the basic. Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje. Man, it was a slugfest in the first round. It was unbelievable. Definitely a fight that we all wanted to see. It kind of turned out kind of how all Habib's fights go. I know he's not Habib, but if anything, I think Charles might be a better Habib, just because his stand-up's a little bit better. He engages in that clinch a little bit more. But definitely, he's gonna overwhelm you, and then he's gonna shoot on you or get a hold of you and have his way with you. That's how it goes. Sorry. That's the best part about Charles Oliveira is everybody fears his ground game because he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. But his striking isn't sacrificed because of it. His striking is actually very tight and technical. It's not crazy. It's no Conor McGregor. It's nothing that's like fancy. It's no Tony Ferguson that's awkward. No Dominic Cruz. No Sean O'Malley. But everything's done textbook, and that's what makes him dangerous. When he throws a hook, he's not overreaching. He's not missing. He's landing. And if he lands with anybody, it's going to happen. Definitely that. So it was a great win. We'll cover that more later on, probably on Tuesday with Gary. So Gary will be here to talk about that fight card. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. I'm going to adjust that. Sorry, guys. Let's talk about the elephant in the room with Rose Namajunas and Esparza. Listen, this is what I'm thinking, okay? With the whole entire thing going on where everybody's upset at Rose and Carla, it's turned into a snooze fest. I get it. It wasn't the most eventful fight. And it kind of happens when you're at this level. You kind of have to expect it. You're going to see it commonly in the UFC just because of the fact of when you're operating and fighting at such a high level and you're defending your title so many times, there's so much footage and there's so many things out there available for your opponents to see. So you fight more technical. I mean, it happens a lot. You saw it with John Jones. Prime example, John Jones was a lot more, I guess you would say, riskful. Took a lot more risks in these fights in the beginning of his career, but as soon as he started defending more titles, it started becoming more of a point game. Now, he's no Floyd Mayweather in there where he's playing by points, evading everything. He's going to be there. He's gonna take less damage. And he's going to win by points if you're trying to play the long game. And I think that's a lesson Rose actually just learned in this fight. shout out to her. She will go down as one of my favorite fighters ever. I don't think this is her last time holding the title. I think she's actually going to get it back, regardless if it's with Esparza again or whoever wins against Esparza. I do not blame him for not making a rematch on that. But I would like to see the argument brought up that, Rose was the title holder. She was the defendant. She should get an immediate rematch. They barely took, both of them didn't take no damage, so it should be fairly soon. I understand you can't make them a main fight, maybe not even a co-main. Maybe you might have to have another card where there's 3 main events. You might have to do that. I don't know, but I do believe that she should get an immediate rematch, even though it was a snooze fest. I don't think Rose will let that happen again. I think she just learned a valuable lesson that a lot of people don't learn in the fight game. In the fight game, it's definitely. I'm being informed that one of the mics are not set up. How's it not set up? No, it's just not out. Oh yeah, I'm not. That's fine. You can speak. It's okay. I mean, right? Yeah, I'll get him to work on it. When I stand up, I'll have him move. I'll shake his hand and I'll take care of it. Sorry, Jeremy was letting me know that the mic wasn't properly positioned. He's right, but I was gonna fix that as soon as he got here. But as I was saying was, I think Rose learned a valuable lesson. Usually, most fighters don't learn that lesson this way. But at some point, you're going to have to learn it. And I'm happy she's not really down on herself. She understands that you're going to get fighters that are going to play by points who aren't really going to engage you. And then you're going to have to point fight. And you really can't rely on them coming to you. Sometimes you are going to have to engage. I do not want to see the story of Rose Namajunas didn't really start the fight, didn't put pressure. Listen, as far as I'm concerned, she was controlling the octagon more. She was taking the center. She was actually evading a lot of the beginning shoots. You could tell her hands or her feet were a little bit more squatted, so she was more in a squat stance in preparation for those shoots without sacrificing her hands going down. So I think she was more than well prepared. She literally stuffed all those takedowns attempts. Literally, I'm gonna have to rewatch it and really give you more accurate timestamps on when it happened. But from what I saw, we're looking at Rose defending at 90% rate, maybe even higher. I will dare to say she defended at a 95% rate, because how many times she stuffed it, got out. I think the only time where she stuffed a takedown and took any damage was when Carla just swung and actually landed on her. That was the only time Carla really was able to engage and really make her pay for not bringing her to the ground. There was a point where Carla did bring her to the ground, and I think there was 2 or 3 times, but every time she brought her to the ground, there was no dominance there. Rose got up immediately. I think the longest transaction that was on the ground was maybe the 4th round, where Carla got her on the ground and really did a great job on the takedown. It was amazing. Got control of her hips, really got that clamp on her wrist and just didn't let go and just threw her down. It was awesome. It was amazing. But Rose literally, just like Gaethje did with Chandler, kind of rolled into it, and next thing you know, she's up an atom, and makes her pay. Throws a one punch at or a jab on the way out and lands, I don't think Carla should have won, nor do I think Rose should have won. If anything, it should have been more of a draw. To give 4 rounds to Carla is stupid. And here's why: because if you're basing the rounds off Carla's takedowns, there needs to be something said about control. There needs to be something said about that. I understand points are points, and that's what I'm saying, but Carla got her to the ground maybe for more than 5 seconds, and that was it. Rose is back up and they're in the fight. Carla did not engage really in any form of punching, and it's smart because there's no stand-up between her and Rose, because Rose is the better boxer. She's more accurate in her punches, and she's a lot more lengthier, but you can't, it's just such a salty way of winning. That's why I believe it should have been a draw, and in this case, be 100% an immediate rematch. Rose learned her lesson. I think Carla learned her lesson as well, that she's going to have to do a little bit more. I really don't like that. And, I do not want this being said that, this is on Rose. I see a lot of hypocrisy, and I'm not, and let me explain. The hypocrisy is everybody saying, oh, Rose didn't engage in any of the fights. She didn't want to really engage with her. First of all, you got to have that same energy. Does no one remember when Israel Adesanya was versing Paulo Costa? Not Paulo Costa, Yoel Romero. Yoel was obviously the better striker. He's strong. He's a lot stronger. Not the better striker. He's a lot stronger. He's a lot more risky. Okay. Israel's a lot more tighter. He's a lot more. He's just well rounded. He's in and out. He's stick and move. You know, he's gonna pick you apart. So he's the better striker. But with Yoel, when he lands, and you're gonna land a punch in every fight, no matter what it is. But with Yoel, all it takes is one. Okay, so Israel was not gonna engage with him standing up, just how Carlo was not gonna engage with Rose. So those roles are a little bit reversed. But everybody put that blame on Yoel. Yoel literally wanted to stand up, just like Esparza wanted to wrestle, and took the center of the octagon and said, are we going to fight? And literally stood still. And Carla did the same thing, I believe, in the third or fourth round. Rose evaded on a takedown. Carla took center, and she just sat there. And Rose was like, all right, let's go, and went right there. Okay, listen. If you're going to criticize Rose on not being engaging enough in this fight, then you need to go back and retract your statement with Israel Adesanya. You can't pick favorites here because Israel did the same thing with Yoel Romero. You know, and it's because he respected his stand-up so much as Rose respected Carla's takedown so much. And everybody's saying at the end of the day, and Twitter blew up immediately. Was like, yo, listen, man, you're fighting the champion. It's not the champion's job to go out and make sure he puts on the best show, that he's gonna make all these sacrifices. It's you, the opposition, the person who's coming in to take the throne, to risk it, to show that you are here amongst everybody else in this division, the top 10 ranks, and you're here to make a statement that you definitely deserve the belt. And that just didn't happen with Yoel Romero. And everybody's like, and you know, even though Yoel felt like he won at the end of the day because he landed more punches, just like Esparza, you know, got more takedowns, they weren't really affecting Israel. He slipped, he rolled with them, it's just nothing. But we all agreed unanimously in this MMA community that, you know, Yoel Romero needs to be the one to put pressure because Israel is the champion, and that's how it should be. And if you're going to have that same opinion, you have to have that same opinion and that statement about Rose. You can't just play two different, you know, roles here and say, oh, you know, Rose didn't get. No, it's not the same thing. Rose has defended her title twice. She's held the title twice. You know, she's shown more adversity in her life and actually proven that on her rematches, she tends, just like John Jones, to even win in a better fashion than before. Minus the exception with Weili, the second rematch, because Weili obviously got knocked out in the first round. So it should be. Besides that, and if you're gonna have that, you know, we gotta have the same energy. I do not see Rose being put to blame at all on this. I don't think she should be put to blame. I think Esparza needs to be held accountable for by the MMA community that is saying that Rose was the one who was lacking the engagement. No, it's not. You know, every fight standing up starts standing up for a reason. You should engage in the fight. You should, you know, as a wrestler, I thought I was going to see more of a lot more feints on takedowns and then go for a nice like overhand on the top. You know, just like a lot of wrestlers do. I mean, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. Literally, that's the best part about being a high level wrestler. When you're a wrestler, you can fake those takedowns because everybody's anticipating those takedowns. So what they do is they keep their hands low, right? In anticipation of getting ready to stuff a takedown, to block the arms from moving anywhere. If they do get at least some form of a grip on you, that way they can't grip their hands together, whatever it may be. But like most wrestlers do, is they'll fake it so many times that right when your hands are low, they're going to shoot an over right hand, and guess what? Or in Kamaru's case, you're going to just shoot a nice. That's the best part about being a high level. And it knocks him out. It's amazing. It's amazing what, you know, Kamaru did. That's what I thought I was going to see more from Esparza. That's the threat I felt that Rose is going to actually have the most danger in. I didn't see Rose actually being threatened on the ground, and I was right. Literally, Rose got up on every takedown with no effort, and it showed right there. So I felt the danger was more in Esparza's potential takedown, but mixed it up with kicks and punches. But I guess that didn't happen because Rose doesn't really keep her hands down. She was smart. She kept her feet low, or her legs low. So that's why I felt like kicks were going to be more, you know, dangerous for her. You know, you're a Esparza, you're sitting there, you're looking at her, you're like, okay, her hands are high, so she's not falling for the feint, takedowns, but her squat stance is low. She's putting a lot of weight on them. Let me take away them legs, and she did land a couple good leg kicks. I'm not, you know, but this fight was nowhere in Rose's fault. None. It was. I mean, if we're gonna put blame on both of them, the only blame I could put on Rose was the fact of, you know, her really not taking the confidence too much, because she showed, especially in the fifth round, that Esparza is nowhere near on the same level as Rose. Rose scrambled out every exchange, landed way more punches in when they were fighting in the clinch or when they started closing the gap. You know, in the 5th round, Rose is just really turning up. And then Rose shoots a fucking takedown and gets it. And, you know, and I get why Rose thinks she wins. She's like, oh, I won, you know. I was sitting there. I thought it was going to be more of a draw. And I did fear that the judges were going to go and give it to Esparza just due to the point taking on takedowns. But there was no dominance there. I was hoping the judges would see that. But at the end of the day, you know, it's up to Rose, you know, on her end to really take inventory on this fight and be like, yo, listen, I cannot let someone win by points. Anytime I take a leg kick and these points aren't really that high, it's a really slow pace, I'm returning one. Anytime I take a takedown, I'm going to make sure I'm going to make her pay on that takedown. I'm going to get up and I'm going to get in the pocket because she's already close to me. Or I'm going to shoot a takedown in return. And Rose can definitely do that. She showed that in the 5th round. I think Rose deserves an immediate rematch. I think it's going to be very, 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 very fun to see that, to see a champion take those notes. And Rose has shown that time and time again. She takes notes on every fight, and she comes back better. I really do. Rose deserves it. So all this hate going on to Rose, everybody needs to calm down because you're not keeping the same energy that you had with Paulo or with Yoel Romero and Israel Adesanya. And I'm only bringing that up because that was the most recent one that everybody can remember. So please keep that same energy. Rose literally does not deserve all this kind of pressure that she's receiving from you guys. That's all I'm saying. We'll talk more about it with Gary. I'm going to just, you know, rewatch the fight some more, really get that definite opinion on it and see what happens there. Let's all talk about the judges watching the Canelo fight. We should not allow any fights to happen with Canelo. Or if Canelo's fighting, do not let nobody watch it. That goes for you, Mr. President Dana White. I know you're not judging, but come on, man. Let's not. I know Canelo's fighting. I know he's up a weight class. Let's not have judges literally watching the Canelo fight next to the screen. It is unfair. That judge is probably, who was watching the Canelo fight, was probably the same judge that gave Esparza 4 rounds. Someone gave Esparza 4 rounds. That is unbelievable. I can understand a 3-2, but I really thought it was a draw. Like, literally. I was like, let's draw, let's give a rematch. Everyone take notes, let's get it, you know. But it's whatever, you know. And then this card was expecting a lot. We had literally Tony Ferguson and Michael Chandler fighting in this. Let's talk about our guest is here. Let's only text our helper here and say our Christopher today is here. And then we'll get started here. But before they walk in, literally, let's have a round of applause for Michael Chandler. A front kick better than a Chito Overa, I believe. I don't want to butcher his name. And then a Frankie Edgar. Like, oh, my God, Tony. Oh, I was sitting there telling Gary, I really think that form of style fighting is becoming expired. Or you're awkward. I think the only person who can kind of really get away with low hands, kind of, you know, is probably going to be Dominic Cruz. Maybe TJ a little bit. But definitely Sean O'Malley. I think people are understanding, you know, how to combat that. You know, combating a lower fighter, you know, we're good. You can let him in, yeah. Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, Christopher. Sorry for being late.
No, you're fine, man. You're good. Hi, how are you? Your name?
Hi, I'm Jeremy.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Hi.
John?
This is my wife, Olivia.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Okay, perfect. This is where you're going to be seated?
Okay.
Okay.
Can I stay here?
Yeah, of course. That's for you.
Is it okay if I stay for a
Of
little
course.
bit?
No, you can
I've
stay
never
the whole
seen,
time. You're okay. Yeah.
Anything like that.
She might go grab some food, so.
No, it's fine. Yeah. Just, yeah. Good.
Thank you.
So basically, with Mike, you want to keep it about a fist away from your mouth.
Okay.
Anytime you move, just remember to pivot it.
Okay, got it.
We are live. We are going. You do have a smart water there for you.
Okay,
And
great.
I got you some Suja celery juice.
Thank you.
Celery's good.
Appreciate it.
You have a smart water as well. Okay.
Thank you.
So they're all cold and good.
Thanks.
It's a pleasure to meet you, man.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. I've been following you for a while, actually. Now I've been kind of being a creep on the side. You know, a lot of people, you know, who know me, and I'm saying this because you obviously don't know me that well. I'm a very big like health nut.
Okay.
I love knowing about, you know, the body, what it goes through.
Okay.
I know it don't look like it now, but I've been in the ringer the past 3 years. That's kind of why I like, you know, kind of like sympathize with you because I've been in like a horrible 2 years.
I watched your previous video with I think it was the gymnast, not the ballerina.
Actually, yeah.
Yep.
That was she was actually my first test run on Anchor when I was switching platforms and YouTube. So yeah. I get a lot of like DMs. There's a lot of people who listen on Anchor and Spotify, and they still love her so much. I would definitely want to have her.
Yeah,
back.
she was awesome.
She was amazing. She's one of my favorite people to talk to. But yeah, man, talk to me. What's the story? You know, it's okay to really vent here. There's no agenda here to push. This is a free flow. We can talk about your life, what's going on.
Sure. So,
You want to move that mic a little bit closer, about a fist away.
yep.
Yeah, and you can pivot it up and down to your whatever you
Okay.
feel is necessary.
Is it okay if I put it down? Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Jeremy will let you know if you need to move it or anything like that. Okay.
Okay, cool. So yeah, my name is Christopher Ignas. I'm 33 years old. Actually, just turned 33 on the 6th.
Happy
So,
birthday.
thank you. And yeah, so my story began when I started taking Allegra, which was an over-the-counter antihistamine. And about 2 months into taking that, I started to get hives on my arms, just itchy areas. And so, but at the time, I didn't realize basically that I could be allergic to it.
And you took Allegro due to the fact of what?
Just some nasal congestion.
Just a normal use. Ah,
Yep.
okay.
Yep, just nasal congestion.
Most people get Allegro for allergies or whatever it may be.
Yep. And so basically, I was taking that. And about 2 months in, I started getting the hives, and I was worried about it. And my wife, she's like, "Hey, maybe we should go to an immunologist or an allergist to find out what the issue is." And so I go to her, and she looks at it, and she's like, "That's eczema. We need to give you topical steroids." And the first thing that I got prescribed was a 1 pound tub of a mid-strength topical steroid called triamcinolone.
Triamcinolone.
0.1%. And so she goes, "Put that on." So I put it on. After about a day, it would go away, and I would stop for a moment, and it would come back, but the rash would spread. She also said to continue taking the Allegra. And so this went on for about 10 months, kept spreading, kept getting worse and worse and worse. And she kept telling me to continue the Allegra and continue slathering on the topical steroids, until what ended up happening was I was getting lesions on my skin, like opened up lesions, and I was itching to the bone. And finally I was like, I was sick of it. I didn't know what to do. And showers were starting to burn. I was scratching skin off in the shower. I mean, it was bad. And finally I was like, something in my head hit me. I'm like, I wonder if I'm allergic to the Allegra. And so I stopped that. The hives went away immediately within a few days. And at that point I was like, why do I need the topical steroids?
Exactly.
I figured out.
Allegra's gone.
Yep.
We solved the issue here.
Right. And when I stopped this topical steroids is when my skin went absolutely haywire. Just completely red all over my body. This ooze was coming out. I wouldn't even have to touch it. I was just ooze just coming out. I was shining.
Yeah.
It was almost like sweat, but it was just this, it was kind of yellowish, and it smelled.
Now, was that probably due to the production of the body trying to make its own oils again and not really?
No. So what ends up happening is that the topical steroids will thin your skin, and you won't bleed like normally. What ends up happening is plasma starts seeping out.
So the plasma is actually coming out of your pores.
Correct. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So plasma starts coming out of your pores, and that's how you heal yourself through it. But it's a very agonizing and long-term thing. But yeah, so what the steroids did was, first off, thin my skin, and then second, my body forgot how to expand and contract its veins, because the steroids were doing it for the inflammation. When you put on topical steroids, it tells your veins to contract, and that's why the inflammation goes away. So the tiny veins under your skin, that would normally, the cortisol on your skin would tell your body or your skin to contract those veins. Well, now that the steroids were doing it, it forgets.
Exactly. And I would like to put this in for the listeners. You made a very, very well correlation between steroids. We'll get into the fact of how people are dismissing what you're saying online, and how it's honestly, I'm not even a doctor, and being in the fitness industry, I understand per se what tests can do and what the significance on coming down from it. The body will stop producing them because you're getting it from another source. The body's not dumb. It's going to know I do not need to produce any more testosterone due to the fact I'm receiving testosterone. It doesn't know where it's coming from, but it knows I'm making it. That's what the body's thinking. But it's not. Right. So when you come off of it and you're not prepping to come off of it, what happens is your body's no longer producing no more tests. So now the downside of coming down from using anabolic steroids, your body's no longer producing the thing that you wanted the most of. So now you shot yourself in the foot. Your estrogen levels are unbalanced. They're higher, actually. So it's this whole mess. So to correlate the fact of what a steroid can do in your case is actually, should not be taken lightly. Like it's I saw the post you made of somebody saying, well, that you were not diagnosing yourself properly, I believe.
And that it was an invention, basically.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, because I know a little bit about anabolic steroids. I have friends who've done anabolic steroids, and I know that, yeah, maybe the steroids might be out of your system, but now you've taught your body to stop producing it. So that's, and science is just now figuring out recently, I think I saw the earliest study or paper was in 2016, talking about how the skin, which is now known as our largest organ, produces cortisol. And so what you're doing is, especially if you're putting it all over your body, you're telling your skin to stop producing cortisol.
Yep. And it makes sense why the body would think that.
Yep.
Our body's very responsive on all levels.
Yep.
And just to feel like it's being dismissed easily on what you're saying is honestly breathtaking.
It's mind blowing.
It really is. I have a love and hate relationship with the health industry in general. I feel like a lot of doctors are very arrogant on things that they think they know, but they're not really taught. So, like, for instance, your traditional doctor will go to school to learn medicine, but they won't go to school to learn nutrition.
Yep.
They will learn about 3 hours in a year of nutrition.
My wife she loves this subject, and
Yeah?
she knows this.
This
she
one hits
preaches
you, huh?
it.
Yeah.
It hits home.
Same thing with diabetes. I mean, with Jeremy over here, he's a diabetic,
Okay.
Like your regular doctor gets a couple hours worth in their schooling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nutrition is very important.
Yeah. So, and this is why there's
Exercise
separate
as well.
fields.
Yeah.
Because these are very complicated things. And this is to the viewers and listeners. This is no shot to doctors. I respect all doctors. I have doctors in the family. I have close friends that are doctors, and they're very well aware of the situation that a lot of doctors are not well taught on nutrition. And this is for any field. Any field, you're going to have a correlation of a different field. It's just how the body is. We're all one. So at some point, a doctor's going to run across nutrition.
Yep.
It's their job to understand nutrition, even if the school system failed them to go out their way to learn nutrition, or to at least guide the person in the right path to understand their body and the nutrition. So, it makes complete sense, how you're dealing with these issues. And that's why I sympathize with you.
Thank you.
I found you through TikTok, and I was like, wow, this guy's going through it. I mean, like, for the listeners at home, this is not like an eczema rash. This is severe. No. I have a friend named Tristan. He's a dear friend of mine. He has eczema. He's had eczema since the age about, I believe, 4. Dealing with it. Horrible. I'm talking like on the ears. His bed will wake up just like you. Yours, would have it at his worst. But nowhere like you. Nowhere to where he's bleeding.
Yeah.
And he can't move and take a shower.
Yeah. I mean, so what ends up happening is, and it's kind of, in most cases, what I've seen on forums, it's systemic. So even if you use those steroids, let's say just on your arms, or just in certain parts, when you stop and you've used it for long enough, or if it was strong enough, I mean, it even happens from hydrocortisone. There are babies that are going through this in the forums. It breaks my heart. And if you stop, even if you use it in a few places, your whole body can flare up.
Yeah.
And this can go on for your entire body. So like I never used it on my face, and in pictures and some of my videos, my face is peeling off like I'm a lizard.
I saw, yep.
And I never applied any there.
It's just the whole body reacted to it.
Yep.
As one.
Yep. The cortisol production just stops everywhere.
So you're sitting here, right? You get off, your original, over the counter drug.
Mm-hmm.
You realize this is a little bit more dangerous. Something's not right.
Yeah.
You go back. Do they tell you to keep using it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you go back and you're like, hey, listen, I'm having this weird flare up, you know? And what do they tell you?
Severe eczema. Immediately. It's like within a minute.
Yeah.
Like they look at me, they don't, it's almost like a snap judgment or a robotic response. Severe eczema. That's it. That was the first 5 doctors, was severe eczema. Cause I kept looking, I was like, I need to get diagnosed with topical steroid withdrawal. I need to find a doctor who will guide me in case I need any antibiotics or any like.
So in between this time, you're doing research at home.
Correct.
I'm assuming both of you are doing research.
Oh yeah, okay. We were researching hardcore, and so then once we figured out, I actually ran across a YouTuber. I forgot her name. I actually need to give her credit, but I ran across her video, and she's talking about, she was all about fitness, and then she starts talking about how now she's going through topical steroid withdrawal, and she starts listing out the symptoms, which was oozing, burning, itching down to the bone, zingers. They call them zingers, which I would just sit there and because the nerves are damaged on your skin, occasionally multiple times a day,
Take a shock.
you'd get shocked. Yeah. And I would just sit here and just like this,
Yeah.
or my leg would go out,
Yep.
or my head would twitch.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help it. And it hurt. And at the same time, I just couldn't control myself. And so, yeah, all of these symptoms, which eczema doesn't have zingers. That does not exist.
No.
And not bone deep itch. I mean, I would just, I go through a little bit of the emotions just thinking about it. I would just, at any point in time, I would slightly try to itch so I wouldn't break the skin, but just doing that would break into my skin. And then, you know, at that point, I was like, just fuck it.
Yeah, and just
I
do
just
it at this
I
point.
just went for it. And at the end of it, I would just itch until I bleed, and the pain was greater than the itch. Then I'd finally feel relieved. But
Yeah.
now I'm all destroyed.
Exactly.
And it would just cycle over
It's
and
an
over.
endless cycle. I
Yep.
can imagine because, I mean, you know, as I mentioned, you know, Tristan, you know, best friend, I see him all the time. He tells me the issues that he has when his flare-ups happen.
Yeah.
You know, now that he's looking for a different kind of care provider, so he's like in between doctors and his health insurance, so he's not getting prescribed his, you know, lotion. That's a
Yeah.
steroid, obviously,
Yeah.
to help him. He's telling me these flare-ups are gnarly. I mean, he could sit at his, I mean, his sensitivity to the air and the condition around him is so much different than ours. Like for him, I know I'm running a dual PC setup with 5 monitors, a fan, and he would be in here saying it is freezing, and I'm over here sweating.
Yeah.
In his room, he's got the same thing, and it is hot, but to him, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, warmth for him is like itching to him. You know, the warmth to him. So at his worst, he would have a blow dryer on the high heat setting on his shoulder, just going because he didn't want to itch, but he knows he's doing damage because it's drying out the skin even more.
Yep.
So, and it's this weird cycle he's going through. So I can see where you're going through, where this weird cycle where you know you shouldn't, but the pain is so bad, but then you know in return that the pain you're going to receive is different than the pain that you're receiving, or for the temptation of itching. So
Yep.
then you're like, which one is worse?
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And then you're in this weird cycle. So you're sitting here, right? And as far as the story is, you figure out that you have topical steroids withdrawal.
Yep.
Do you go to a doctor and say, this is what it is?
Yeah, so continuing on, we went to those first 5 doctors who were just regular doctors, and a dermatologist. She also took a biopsy, and she comes back and she's like, it's spongiitis, something, basically dermatitis. And she goes, you need topical steroids. And what's funny is we went to her initially because she labeled TSW, topical steroid withdrawal, as one of her specialties.
Really?
And she goes, you need more steroids. I'm like, wait, it was like that meme where, you know, where the guy goes
Yeah.
like this and the question marks. I was like, what are you talking? And I mean, at that point I was in really bad condition, just skin coming off everywhere, flaking. And so that was the first doctor who was a TSW specialist. Then we,
Wow, and that failed.
and that failed completely.
That's got to shoot your hopes down. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Anything.
oh yeah, at that point. And then she says, you can use a biologic called Dupixent, but that's $5,000 per shot, up to 4 times a month.
You're looking at 20 grand.
Yeah, looking at 20 grand a month, and that doesn't necessarily heal
Fix
you.
the issue, no.
No, it's kind of like, especially for a lot of people in the forums, for some people it does help, but for others, their symptoms continue, and sometimes they get worse. So when I knew about that, I was like, I'm not taking that. And so we ended up eventually going to our last doctor that we went to was a cancer specialist in Clearwater. And right before we walked in, I go, watch. He's going to look at me and he's going to tell me that I need Dupixent. We go in, he lifts up my shirt, and I was in a ton of pain. And immediately, right when the way he lifted up my shirt, it was so aggressive. I was like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And TSW was one of his specialties.
Special,
Yeah.
quote unquote, special.
He lifts it up really aggressively, and I cringe because I was in so much
It's
pain.
pain. Yeah, it's painful for you at this point. Yeah.
And immediately I'm like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. But I stayed quiet, and he looks at me. He goes, "Yep, you've got TSW. I would suggest Dupixent."
Of course. I mean, why not, right? I mean, that's modern medicine right there.
Yep. And so then he goes, TSW is his specialty. He goes, but I don't think you're addicted to the steroids. It's some other item in the cream, some other ingredient in the cream.
So he's saying that the cream really isn't the problem. It's the ingredient in the cream,
It's not the steroid part
Yeah.
of the active ingredient.
which is, we know it is.
right. He's like, it's something else in the cream. I was like, I smiled at that point. My wife was so mad. I smiled at that point because I was like, I knew it. This guy's just another clown.
Yeah, this is
At this
just
point.
a lack of hope in especially this industry. Then you sit there and you think these are the people that are supposed to be the ones to take care of us.
Healing you. They're
Yeah.
supposed to be healers,
Yeah.
but they're not. Or at least not all of them. I don't want to say that all doctors
We don't want to
are.
generalize.
Yeah.
But this is an issue we all know.
But every single doctor that I went to for this condition was just a bona fide drug dealer.
Exactly. And, it's that's modern medicine, unfortunately.
Western medicine.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's all about the
nothing.
almighty dollar.
Exactly. And you will find doctors who that isn't their agenda. They own their own practice, but they're very rare and they're hard to find.
Yes.
That's why you should go out your way when you find a doctor like that to really promote them, give them out there as
Yep.
much as possible. So you're sitting here, and that's got to be tough for you emotionally more than physically.
Yes.
I would assume emotionally this has got to be scarring for you.
Yeah, I do not trust doctors now for it.
Yeah.
I'm very now. Before I was super trusting.
Yeah.
That's why I got into this mess. I was like, my wife, and then her mom is very much into learning about medicine, and her mom was like, remember, steroids are just a Band-Aid, and it's supposed to be for a short term.
Exactly. Never
use.
long term.
Yep. But me being so trusting of doctors and medicine and all the
throw that away.
education, all the years
Yeah.
that they've been there, I completely ignored that. I was
Yep.
like, they know what they're talking about. They've been in this.
You go to school for 10 years
Yep.
and plus some.
Yep. And I listened, and lo and behold, that's what ended up
Yep.
happening for listening.
So you're sitting here, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, there's no hope.
At that point, I was like, we're in this alone. 'Cause
Exactly.
At that point, we knew that I was going. At least I knew my body. I knew that this was 100% topical steroid withdrawal. I knew the symptoms that I was going through, and I was like, we're in this alone. Like, we're gonna have to help me heal through this. And
How many months were you in at that point when you seen that last doctor?
10. Yep.
10 months in.
10 months in.
We're almost a year in.
Yep. Almost a year in, and it took me 18 months total to heal through. So,
Well, first of all, for the viewers who aren't going to see the video, you look great.
thank you.
You really look. I've seen what you look like. I've seen your videos.
Thank you.
I'm sure you can look at receipts. I'm liking all your videos. I'm like watching this process.
Yeah, thank
and I've always had him. I said, man, I want to talk to this guy. I want to know what's going on. But I always wanted to make sure I saw you at your best where I know you could go out because I know how
Yeah.
sensitive you were to everything. You
Yeah.
know?
All of that is gone. No more
It's-
sensitivities.
It's amazing how you look right
Thank
now.
you.
It
Thank
really
you.
is because I'm looking at your arms. I'm looking at your neck. I'm looking.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Which I felt like that's why I took to the internet and I took to raising awareness. Actually, my wife's friends, they're like, you should make a TikTok. There's another guy who's doing
That
this.
was my
for-
next question. I was going to say, when did the TikTok?
So that was the TikTok came about in I think end of January, something like that, because our friends saw another TikToker who was going through the same thing, but he's in Australia in way worse condition. And I have to say I was more towards the end of my journey, and I also hadn't been using topical steroids for as long as he had, since childhood. But it was just 10 months worth of topical steroids, and I was like, you know what, I do need to get on the internet. I do need to show people, because there are people, thousands and thousands, isolated in forums because doctors are gaslighting them. I need to get this out there. And not only that, I was hoping, especially when haters got onto the comments, I was hoping I would heal as fast as possible and show them that I'm not using any drugs. There's no topical steroids. This is not severe eczema, and I'm going to prove it. And once I do, you guys can't argue it. But obviously they're still arguing it. They just, the God complex.
It would always happen.
Yeah.
People are always going to have that what if, but it's this,
Yep.
you didn't do this.
Yep.
It's the same thing that, well, first of all, it's amazing to see how a negative comment can turn into a drive. Almost,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
You're sitting there, you're like, no, I'm going to do this now just because I want to prove you guys wrong and show you that this is proof.
Yep.
It's the same idea I had with going vegan. When I was, I was traditionally in, the fitness industry. I go on this, I'm like close to 200 pounds. I'm 180, smoking cigarettes. I'm working a horrible job. I'm emotionally just tired. I'm done. And I'm like, I don't think I'm healthy anymore, right? I realize when I'm at sleep, I'm wheezing when I'm sleeping. I'm like, and I'm like, this isn't good. So
Yeah.
I kind of, I get off the cigarettes, and then I start getting into fitness, and then I'm like, man, there's something I can do that's better. Because in my head, I'm like, I got to recuperate everything, the damage that I did to myself, you know?
Yeah.
So, I'm talking to Brianna, and we're talking, and I'm like, I don't know, I might want to go vegan. Because start figuring out what's going on with the main source of meat that comes here.
Yeah.
And listen, a lot of people, a lot of people have this stigma. A lot of vegans have a stigma saying all meat is bad. There's a lot of benefits to meat, And
Sure.
I will dive into that eventually. And I will eat meat eventually again, but I'm gonna hunt for it myself. I'm gonna do my own thing. There's no process. The process is gonna be done by me.
Yeah,
You
rather
know?
than a factory.
Exactly.
Yep.
In my culture, we're heavily big on lamb, and that's pretty much it. And a very little amount of dairy. And it's funny because now Latins are consuming a lot more dairy, and we're holding a really high percentage in the lactose sensitivity department, which is funny. But I want to hunt my own food. I want to have that connection with the animal that I take away from this universe. I want to have that moment. I want to be able to share it. And I'm not going to eat 25 ounces for some reason in America that we do of meat. I'm going to eat 4, maybe every other day. But I've been a vegan for 8 years now.
Wow.
I've been
impressive.
deep. And going through that process, when you have all your gym bros, they're like, oh, bro, you're going to lose all your muscle.
No, that's not true.
Bro, you're going to get really weak. You're going to do it. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I get it. I start doing research. I'm like, let me figure
There's
out.
a lot of vegan weightlifters who are freaking ripped. They're huge. Yep.
So I'm sitting there and I'm at 155 and I put myself up in a couple of years to 165. I am the biggest, the strongest I've ever been. I feel great. And then it goes downhill from there. It just goes back down. But it's funny because going downhill, actually, so me progressing and doing really, really good, right?
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, this is it. I proved all my gym bros that you can live a vegan style and put on muscle, right?
Yeah.
And they don't give you any credit. They're like, oh, well, that's just muscle you had before when you had meat. Thank the meat.
Of course.
So I go downhill. I get salmonella. I get chronic arthritis from it. I get COVID 3 times. And I'm just in this depression all the way down, right? And I can't go to the gym. COVID's hitting. We're restricted in the beginning. And I put on 20 pounds, 25 pounds. And everyone's like, oh, so you can put on weight. And I'm like, yeah, I know I can put on weight, but I'm putting on weight because I'm no longer active. But they're like, oh, no, I guess vegan diet do work. Because in their head, they're like, oh, eat a lot, put on weight, turn it into muscle. It's funny. So going up, I thought, okay, this is going to prove it. But my downside is what proves apparently to them that, you
can gain weight.
Which is dumb. It's just funny. I find that ironic.
Yeah.
But that drive did fuel
funny.
me over there. So definitely understand where you're coming from. Now, I did see that you're leaning more to TCM.
Yes, yeah. So
who did this?
I actually did.
You did this.
Well, my wife was also. She was initially. So when I didn't know it was TSW that I was going through, we did go to a homeopath, but he said I had candida, which I kind of felt like.
What is that?
So candida is yeast overgrowth in your stomach.
In the body,
yeah, yeast overgrowth.
Probably more common in women.
Correct. It is more common in women. And I've also read that this is a very robotic and go-to answer. Like
that's a generalization of it's a Band-Aid. Like, okay, that's what this is.
Yeah. So and initially when I was going through TSW and we didn't know, and I was still applying the topical steroids at that point, but I was flaring up in between the applications, and he was doing acupuncture. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm getting red again. Should I stop the topical steroids? He's like, no, it's okay. You can keep using them.
Oh, no.
So, because he did say that, but he was giving me acupuncture, and then at one point he gave me.
I don't mean to cut you off, but the acupuncture must have hurt.
It did not. No.
How does that not hurt you?
It didn't. There's just a little prick.
No, I understand. No, I'm well aware of it. I mean, just the reason why I'm bringing this up is Brianna is in school for TCM.
Okay.
So, and we have family that does traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay.
So I'm like, my family all goes to traditional Chinese medicine.
That's
like,
awesome.
All acupuncture, everything you can do, like herbs and everything like that. That whole cabinet in that kitchen is just herbs.
That's
everything.
awesome.
So we try to eliminate any form of. We want to correct the issue at its base. We don't want to band-aid it. We don't want to take an overcounted steroid in your
or just take a pill that'll hide the symptoms.
Exactly, like for her, and then we also go to chiropractors and the skeletal system, the nervous system, and all that stuff. Which is another realm to get into. But no, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, if he's going to TCM, right? That needle's got to hurt if you're going and you're having flare-ups. But I guess it didn't hurt.
Well, the flare-ups were at that point minimal.
Okay.
So I was flaring up, but it was mainly on my arms, up to a little bit on my chest at that point, not on my legs yet, a little bit on my feet. And he would put in maybe 6, and it only really hurt when he put it in and then mess with it.
Yeah,
then I felt the shocks.
Yep.
So, which I felt like would work if I had known that I was going through TSW and had stopped the steroids.
Yeah, there's too many things just clashing.
Yep.
Exactly.
So but I was a little off put by by him saying it's candida that this is happening from, and for him now looking back, I think it was wrong of him to tell me to continue the topical steroids.
Oh, well, I mean, every person telling you to do that was wrong.
Right, especially being in his industry.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not homeopathic at all.
Yeah.
And so I was a little off put by that. And reading through a lot of forums, it's very robotic to blame everything or a lot of things on yeast on the inside. For
Okay.
The candida. So it was towards, I think, month 12 or 13 of topical steroid withdrawal. Yeah. Oh, no, that's right. I had heard about my current doctor that I'm using for TCM. I had heard about her right when I figured out about topical steroid withdrawal.
Yeah.
I saw her in the forums. I saw her. I saw people talking about her and saying that they're getting good results from her. But I ignored it because of my first experience with the homeopath. But then I circled back around after seeing more and more people talking about her about month 13 or 14, something like that. And I was like, how about we just give her a try?
At this point, why not, right?
Yeah. And she was in Chicago, or she's in Chicago, and she does everything via video chat. And at that point, I couldn't really, be traveling or anything. So I was like, this works, that I can do it over video chat. And from the initial experience, I fell in love with this doctor. I had to fill out an intake form, which was everything. What do I eat? How often do I exercise? Do I smoke? Do I drink? How
Amazing,
often?
Right?
Everything. I mean, what kind of foods do you eat? What's your diet? Just
specific.
So specific, and I loved it. And that was even before the interview. And then when I got on the interview with her, she spent 45 minutes, maybe even more, maybe up to an hour with me, which no doctor, not a single one, spent more than 10 minutes on me talking to me. And I was like, this is someone who cares. And she asked about the specific symptoms. You're oozing, you're itching, are you burning? What time are you sweating at night? Are you sweating during the day? Where do you sweat? How often do you sweat? How long do you sweat? All this stuff. And I was just like, this is awesome. And she's writing all this stuff down. And then she goes, all right, I'm going to send you a week's worth of pre-sealed packages.
Herbal medicine.
With herbal teas. And she formulated it.
To your needs. That's why they asked all those specifications.
Yep. And so about a week into taking the every 12 hours, I had to drink it. And she's like,
Tastes horrible, doesn't it?
So horrible.
It's so bad, man. It's horrible.
I've tried to get her to try, and she smells it, and she's like, no.
Worst. It's it's bad when you're like, oh my God, that is bad.
Yeah. But she's like, every 12 hours, you've got to drink it. And she goes, and I don't want any of this 12 hours and then 14 hours later.
No, it's got to be
on the dot, 12 hours. So I was adamant about that. And after 5 days, all of my inflammation gone, all of the itching gone.
Yep.
My skin started getting strong again to where even if I did itch, it wasn't breaking. Nothing would break. None of it. So it just started healing naturally again. I was like, oh my God.
That must have been heaven sent for you.
Oh man. I was like this, the next meeting I had with her. Oh, she goes, within the first week, let me know. Are you having any bad bowel movements like diarrhea or anything like that?
Of course.
She's like, let me know, and I'm going to send you 3 weeks worth. So that way we meet up in 3 weeks. So I did, and I said, everything's fine. And then 3 weeks later, I mean, I had healed so much. She just smiled, and she's like, I'm so happy for you. This is why I do this.
It's an amazing when you feel you find somebody who actually cares about you.
Yes, it was the greatest feeling. And I mean, I even teared up a little bit talking to her. I'm like, you are a true healer. Thank you, Dr. Friedman. And she goes, I do this because of this. This is what I love doing. And so as time has gone on, she's actually reformulated the tea. I meet with her every 3 weeks. She's given me herbal creams as well because my feet were being stubborn. They were still oozing. So that
was the hardest part on your body, right? Was your feet?
Yes. And from my understanding and what she explained is the herbs are pushing the heat out of your body. And the way the body heals homeopathically is from inside out, top to bottom. So feet are going to be...
That's what she was saying. When I told her about you, she was like, with the feet, that's what she was saying. She said the feet are like the last ones to go.
Yeah. So she's like, that's why they're stubborn. But let's continue taking the tea. Let me give you this cream to stop the oozing and work on the heat from the outside. So I go, great. I start using that. A week later, gone. Now it's just dry. No more oozing. So now she sent me the next video meetup we had. She gives me another cream where it actually got rid of the dryness. So now, I mean, my feet went from these scabby, disgusting, oozing to healed within, I'd say, 3 weeks. Yeah, it was amazing. I'm still taking the herbs, and then I have a few tiny little dry
Grassly
spots.
ones are a little hard to get away.
And she gave me that.
That's
that,
more due to the longevity of the damage you went
correct, because those were the spots where I had just torn into.
through. Those
the
will
most.
go away. Those just take a little longer,
Right.
just because those have been suffering the longest.
Right,
Okay.
and now that my skin can tolerate it, no problem. I go out in the sun, get
I
sun
was
now.
gonna say, you know what sucks about your condition is like,
Can't get sun.
and that's one of the main things you need.
Vitamin D.
It's crazy. I'm like, he's got a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
He can't even go to heal himself in the sun.
Yep.
Something organic, something that's real, that's meant to
Yeah.
heal us, and you can't even do that.
Yeah, it sucked. I mean, I was.
Were you taking supplements, vitamin D?
Yes, I was taking
Which
supplements.
one's vitamin D3 with K2 or anything?
Both.
Okay.
Typically with K2. But we did learn early on that you can't overdose on it because supplements, vitamin D supplements, will actually store in the body. Where the sun, if it comes from the sun, it will get rid of it on its.
It's a different kind
Vitamin-
of running. Yep. No, you're 100% correct on it. It's amazing me how much you learned.
Yes,
You learned a lot.
We've learned a lot through this. A lot.
And for the viewers or listeners at home, Chris brought his wife, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Olivia.
Yeah.
Olivia. They were both in this together.
Yes. She,
Very, very hard for you to probably watch your husband go through that. I could imagine what you were feeling like. How long have you guys been together?
Now 5 years. Yeah. Yeah. 5
So
years.
you knew him
December.
when- married, but how
yeah.
long have you known each other?
6.
6?
I proposed after a
Wow, one more year. 6.
year. Yeah,
Six.
I
Wow.
knew the
How old
moment
were
we
you?
had our first.
28?
27.
27?
Yeah.
So that means you've seen him at his best. You've seen him at his young,
Yeah.
skinny. So how was that for you?
She's tearing up a little bit.
Hard?
Yeah. And I knew, and not only was it hard for her, but I knew how I couldn't imagine being in her place with her being sick. I was like, I can handle this because I know what's going on in my body, and I know that I'll beat this. But she,
Almost helpless, you would feel like.
right, and
Because you're on the
that's-
sideline.
and that's how I think how she felt, was helpless.
You know, I have to say the most difficult thing was that I had to like keep my emotions
To be strong.
Yeah, for me.
So he was in a very bad condition, like sometimes extremely bad condition, and I had to be like positive. I had to like show that it's okay. That I tried to like cheer him up. Where me inside,
You're
I was
breaking. You're
so
feeling for him.
terrified.
Yeah, of
I
course.
was terrified.
It's-
Sometimes I just didn't know what to do. I was crying when he didn't see. I didn't want him to see because I.
You got to stay strong. I mean, that's the same look parents have on their kids.
Yeah.
When your kids are going through something hard and you really don't know what's going on, it's up to the parent to be that strength. You know,
Yeah.
be like, we got this. We can do this. Even though internally you're like, I don't know what the fuck's going on right
Yeah.
now, but we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know? That
Not-
must have shown you levels of love that you probably didn't know existed.
I honestly, I gotta say, I honestly wouldn't be here today without
Yeah.
her.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I wouldn't. I
That's-
mean, there were
that's
2 times.
marriage.
Yeah, there were 2 times where I was like, I was just done. I was like, I can't keep doing this. I was just so painful. And then watching, I felt like a burden at the same time. I felt like she could be moving on with her life. Who knows
you
how
almost
much
accept
longer?
it, right? You're almost like, I understand if you leave. Kind
Yeah.
Of thing.
Oh yeah. And I told her many times.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you need to move on with your life, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
You didn't sign up for this kind of deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you know, those are the people you want in your life. Somebody who's going to ride with you to the end. And then
And she told me, she's like, I want you back to the way you were, and I know you'll get back to the way you were when we met, and that's all I want.
that solidifies it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm happy for you guys generally.
Thank you.
It's, not a lot of people can have a partner like that who can stick around.
Especially at our young age, you know.
But no, especially at a young age.
Yeah.
When you're so young, you have the option to move. You're not bound to any kids. You're not done. I mean, you're married, but you know how many people that doesn't even matter. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, my father left us when like 6 times. You know, when we were growing up. You know, and
My
he had
parents
kids.
separated too. Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, and then you lose faith, and that's where you're like, okay, I understand. But that's rare nowadays. So, congrats on you guys for that.
Thank you.
First of all. Okay, so what's the process like for you now? Well, I'm assuming you have a routine now in the mornings.
Oh yeah, I'm now up. So before I couldn't sleep because it was like I would sleep for 2 hours, get up, itch, try to fall asleep again. Basically, my nights were just broken up into maybe 3 hours to 4 hours max of sleep.
Is it because you would turn and then that would wake you up, possibly?
I wouldn't even turn. I had to sleep on my back, which I love sleeping on my side. The entire time I slept on my
I feel
back.
that so much, you have no idea.
And it was so hard. And not only that, I didn't sleep in bed with her for the entire time I was healing. I slept on a couch.
Why is that?
Because I would just constantly be itching. It would wake her
Okay.
up.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stand to be waking her up. Plus, she had work, so I couldn't keep her up. And I didn't feel as bad when I was downstairs on the couch. And so now that I'm healed up, I am up at 7 a.m. on the dot, loving every moment. And I used to not be a morning person.
Yeah, now you are, right?
Now I'm like, seize the day. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to be doing everything. I go outside and just get sun on my face and appreciate it. I'll walk and throw out the trash, come back and run my hands through the bushes because I feel like a child. And she's seen it. She's like,
that's what she's laughing. She's like, he really does.
yeah, she took me out to a rooftop bar in Clearwater for my birthday, and
Nice.
and we just sat there, had drinks, and
Morning or like afternoon?
after
or?
sunset.
Sunset. Ooh, beautiful.
And we were just sitting there and watching, and she told me, she's like, now I'm learning from you because I've forgotten these things to appreciate
Yeah,
these
to
things.
appreciate things with you, with your significant other.
And
you know?
and so I'm happy that I can give that back because honestly, I was kind of like before this sickness, I was kind of like, no big deal. Everything's, it is what it is. I wasn't excited, but sorry. So it wasn't like I was appreciative of the little things where she was more so. And this chronic condition has now really opened me up and just allowed me to love life. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it.
I mean, everything you're saying is what a lot of people go through when something like this happens to them.
Yep.
And usually, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is. That's why I give so much credit to women. Women tend to be the ones who enjoy life a little bit more.
Yes.
They take the things like, I grew up with women all around my life. Like I have no boys in the family, all women, and they all appreciate the things that I never really did. And then later on, I'm like, man, I should have appreciated that a little bit more. You know?
Yep.
Just a walk outside, they'll appreciate that. They're like,
Yep.
It's like it's good to have that, And now men are just so stubborn sometimes. We don't really like,
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
don't
for
really
sure.
like sit back and look at the.
Usually we're driven for work and money
Yeah.
and items, materials, where women are more about, hey, let's go take a walk outside. Let's go ride a bike. And this was a common occurrence where she loved riding bikes. I liked riding bikes too,
But you weren't always. Yeah, let's go.
yes, yeah, exactly.
And now you're like, when are we riding a bike?
Yeah, like the other day, she's like, I'm so tired, but I was like, well, what do you want to do? She's like, let's go ride a bike. But then she got tired, and she's like, let's eat dinner, and we'll figure it out. And after dinner, she's like, let's go, because otherwise I'm going to get tired and not want to go. I'm like, I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's do it.
It's actually really good to do for the body, too. After you eat, kind of like move a little bit.
Yep.
It'll help digest a little bit more. And then at night, your body won't have to actually raise its heart rate to digest food and all. It'll give you better sleep. So it's actually a very old form it's an old form of a technique where a lot of people did, at least in the Latin culture, is you would go on a walk after you eat.
That's how it is
before dinner.
in Polish culture as well.
I knew she was Polish. I was going to ask. She's Polish.
Both of us are Polish.
Both of you, okay.
I'm first generation American.
First
though
generation.
My parents came from Poland.
And you were
40
born in
years ago.
Poland? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
How did you meet her? Oh, this is a good story. Let me hear it. Okay, we don't have to say it. If it's embarrassing, I get it.
It's not embarrassing.
I don't want to ask anything too deep. This is between you two. So if this is something you guys want to keep.
It's not embarrassing. It's not at all. I love telling it. And so I actually think that it could be a movie. And she's worried that if I tell it too much that, someone will steal it. But I don't think so. I'm the one telling it every time. So I'm the originator.
There's proof. And there's a video proof here too.
Exactly. So basically the way this happened was when I was about 6 or 7 years old, my parents took me to I grew up in Destin, Florida, in the Panhandle.
Okay.
We've got beautiful white sand beaches. And my parents took me out to the beach when I was about 6 or 7 years old, woke me up at like 4 a.m. And we're packing about 20 Walmart bags, sticking them in the back of the car, drove up to Chicago and dropped them off with a man. That was it. That's all I knew. And throughout the years, as I grew up playing volleyball or going surfing or whatever, I would, every about 2 or 3 years, driving by the beach, I'd be like, I wonder what that sand was for. I've always wondered. So 6 years ago, I get a phone call from my dad. He goes, I've got a friend coming into town from Chicago, and he wants to take us out to dinner. I go, who is it? I can come, but who is it? He's like, do you remember dropping off that sand to that man? I go, yeah, I've always wanted to ask what that was for. It just never crossed my mind when we were together with my dad or in general. I was like, I'll get to finally ask him. So I come come to dinner, and I come up to him and I give my hand and I go, "Hey, Mr. Kapusta, it's been a while." He goes, "I remember when you were a little kid." I go, "Can I ask you a question?" He goes, "What?" He goes, I go, "What was that sand for?" They were in a booth, and he leans back. And he goes, "It was for my daughter, so she could have sand from Florida to play in her sandbox."
No
and
way.
She was
no
next.
way. No.
Yeah.
Really?
And then we that was the
Okay,
first
I'm
time
not
we
gonna
ever.
lie. That is some movie shit. I'm not gonna lie, man. That is.
It's almost like The Notebook, but it's true.
Yeah, that's crazy for her.
Yeah. So she never came to America. Her father had a business in Chicago.
Obviously, he wasn't with her, so he wanted
Right, he was
something.
flying back and
Yeah.
forth multiple times a year, and basically, he wanted her to have a sandbox with white Florida sand in it.
Wow.
And we did that
And
for
would have you even known that would have been your future husband?
and we had been. I used to travel to Poland with my father almost every summer, and he would drive by and he'd say, "This is my friend's land here," because he's wealthy. "This is my friend's land here," and it's. But we never met. Like our paths.
So when did you
never-
guys officially cross?
When 6 years ago at that
How
dinner.
though? Oh, I thought you were there at the dinner.
Yeah, because she had come to visit
Oh,
her dad in
okay.
Chicago, and not only that, her dad goes, "Where do you want to go? Let me take you somewhere." He goes, "Do you want to go to Hawaii or Florida?" And she chose Florida.
Out of everybody would pick Hawaii, but she chose Florida.
She chose Florida.
Some would almost say that is a past life agreement to meet again.
I mean, it's nuts. Like the whole story is nuts, and it's totally true.
Wow, that's crazy. You guys
yeah.
have a story. I can see why she didn't want to tell you. Jerry, I hope you're writing all this down. I'm just kidding. He's like, bro, it's all up here, man. Wow, that's crazy,
Yeah.
man. You guys were almost bound to meet at some
Yeah.
point. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and we fell in love immediately. I mean, we just started talking and fell in love.
Wow. And you're obviously both Polish, so
Yes.
that also helps a
Yep.
little bit.
And it helped that my parents, we had a rule in the house: if there are no English-speaking guests,
only.
only Polish. So that's how I learned Polish. And
That's how it was in my family, and then it slowly became all English speaking people.
it
So then I
happens
lost my tongue immediately. So,
Yeah,
but I'm getting it back. It's fine.
yeah, you'll pick it back up.
Oh, yeah, for
It's in the subconscious.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
in there. You never forget anything.
Yep.
It's just picking it back up. It's kind of like Harry Potter when you pull that memory out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
In the pensive.
Yeah. You remember. Wow, that's crazy. So, do you take any vitamins currently right now or anything like I mean even a herbal tea that you're recommended to have or anything like that?
I still take the teas that she gives, that she formulates. And actually, I was wondering at one point whether it would be formulated differently, because for the longest time it tasted the same. And then she changed it up a little bit. I wasn't sure. I was like, this tastes a little bit different, but I'm not sure. And then finally, the last meeting I had with her about a week ago, it's tasted completely different. So she does formulate it according to what your symptoms are. So I take that, I take the tea, and then I take magnesium complex, because I'm shaking a lot after the
Obviously, there's a little bit of some
damage,
some vessel damage in there inside you as well. You know,
nerve damage. Yeah, and so I take magnesium, potassium. I'm trying to think what else. I think that's it right now. Basically, yeah. That's it.
Wow. So you're just in the process of healing, and now that you're good, now you can start to really heal now.
Yep.
Because the healing doesn't really start until like you're back. Like then it's like recuperating what was damaged. You're picking up the last pieces that are kind of like lingering. Yep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the plan is probably to get back physical like health. Like, are you gonna? I don't know if you weight trained before. Maybe.
I was right before it happened, or actually during it. I was applying topical steroids, and I was really
weight training,
hitting the gym hard, and then boom, this happened, and I was bedridden, and I lost 70 pounds.
Yeah.
Over 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Definitely try to look into that because weight training, especially with Olympic lifting, it can help strengthen a lot of not just muscles, but I'm talking like a lot of your actual like spine, like your spine. Like if you're doing proper squats with proper form, it'll help.
Yes.
And you'll create new veins.
Yeah.
And these things will help mitigate.
I didn't know about the veins.
Yeah. No, your body's always creating veins. It's the same thing with your brain. Like your brain will create new veins if there's this disease. It's with the brain where the blood vessels actually tend to get really small, right? Mm-hmm. So they're getting headaches and they're getting shocks, right? And so what would happen is the brain will actually naturally start to create a new blood supply, new veins that'll have larger vessels, and they'll connect to the actual smaller vessel.
Okay, that makes
to
sense.
actually help with blood flow. So your body's always creating veins again. So and any kind of form of activity will do that, but weightlifting predominantly will help create that. You know,
Okay.
it's a very a lot of people sit there and they're like, oh, you know, you can, especially as a youth, you can damage your stunt. It's very rare to damage your stunt. Very rare. You have to do some really bad damage. But if anything, it's gonna help create that sponginess in between your disc. What is that called? Is that cartilage? That's not cartilage. You figure it out. But yeah, it's great. So I would definitely recommend when you can. I'm assuming you still got some shakiness, right? When you're like,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I'm shaking.
But I'm sure that's the least of your concerns.
Oh, I don't care anymore. Like people will notice it. I'm just like whatever. Doesn't
Okay,
bother
so
me.
you post a video of your recovery on TikTok. How is it looking? People believe what you're posting, and do they feel like you've gone another round? You're not. 'Cause people are very skeptical, you know, when it comes to different methods
So I had
of healing.
Yeah, I had probably 98% is overwhelmingly positive response.
Okay.
Everyone's just amazed. Like I've been incredibly amazed by how wonderful and the beautiful comments people have left me. That helped me a lot mentally. But of course, I don't know if you saw my recent video where I kind of got pissed off at doctors, and especially
I was gonna ask you, was that a doctor that replied?
Yes,
That was a doctor that
she
replied.
said signed an eye doctor with eczema since childhood or something like
Okay,
that.
so-
Which I'm not saying eczema doesn't exist, and I've never said that. in my
Eczema is
videos.
very much real.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's not even. Yeah.
Yeah.
For viewers at home, you know, Chris, had posted a comment that was from a doctor and pretty much dismissing his misdiagnosis.
Yeah.
Of what he said he
And
had.
saying it's an invention.
Which is clearly not.
Yeah, and then actually another doctor, which was funny. This was the funny part is I had responded to her, made a reply video to her. Another doctor came on and started arguing that I do have severe eczema, and then I've documented everything, and he knows more than anyone in these comments. Then I had a nurse that came in and goes, "It's absolutely real. Topical steroid withdrawal is absolutely real." Then the original doctor who I had replied to, she comes in, makes fun of the nurse, and says, "You need to talk to a doctor. You don't know what you're doing."
This is the ego.
Yeah,
this is the ego.
Then she comes in and starts complimenting the original.
Anybody who's pushing her viewpoint,
Yeah,
gaslighting.
she's supporting him. Of
course.
And people were talking to him, and he actually said, "Oh yeah, TSW is real. Topical steroid withdrawal is real." So I jump in, I go, "So which is it?" One doctor says no, the other doctor says yes. So which is it? Why don't you guys start discussing for us?
Yeah.
And then eventually, after a few hours of that, the video gets taken down.
No, it got taken down.
Oh yeah, I got taken down for harassment.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
But that's okay.
It's crazy how TikTok works like that, huh?
Yeah, that's
You
okay.
can literally see the craziest shit on TikTok.
But I threw it all on other channels, other areas, so I don't care.
Oh,
And,
no, I
and
don't
now
blame-
I'm starting to post on Twitter.
You should, you should. You know, this is a big failure in our system here. I mean, listen, current modern Western. When I say medicine, I'm obviously talking about Western medicine.
Yep.
Is great on many levels. There's a lot of things it does, but it treats the issue after it's happened, and it doesn't really cure the issue. Now, there's some cases where it will stop a lot of the issues. You know, like I mean, we could be talking about a lot of with brain surgery. Actually, that's when it will come in handy. They can fix the issue right there, and then boom, you're done.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at it from more of a TCM standpoint, you're looking at the fact of there is an issue here. What is the issue? What we're seeing on the skin is a correlation of something happening.
Yeah,
This is
it's
not
reacting to
exactly.
something. It's
So
not
let's
just
fix
out of nowhere.
the problem.
Right.
So, and that's why Brianna's in TCM because there's a lot of her mother. I'm not going to speak too much of her business, but I mean I know she's okay with saying it. I would rather have her say it, but her mother had lupus.
Okay.
Excuse me. Through
That's a serious condition.
no, yeah, it's very common with women because women take a lot of burden and stress in their life, and women tend to, at least previously, before it was a known issue, women would take a lot of abuse, a lot of emotional abuse. As well. And that's what happened with Brianna's mother. She took a lot of emotional abuse for years and years and years, and then it actually ended up giving her lupus. And it's proven that emotional damage can do that. I mean, we all know what stress can do.
Oh yeah.
Right? So she gets lupus, and then she gets like 5 other diseases on lupus because lupus is just already a damaging your nervous system that you're compromised to other things.
Yep.
So she ended up getting a lot of diseases, and I won't get into, but she always went to the doctors and everything, and it was funny because the doctors would sit here and be like, okay, well, you need to do this, you need to do this, and they would treat obviously the issue. She would go and get chemo, she would get treated, she would feel better, but the issues would never really go away, and she wanted them to go away, and there's only so much you can do with lupus.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to really get rid of lupus like that. You can mitigate how much it affects you, right? So we go vegan, and then her mother's like, let me try vegan. All our doctors go, no, don't do it. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Goes vegan, does her first blood work, skyrockets anything else. Her blood work is amazing. They're
Wow.
like, what are you doing? And, we're reducing the inflammation that's in the body, all these other things. She's already active. So it was crazy to see that. So that's when I kind of started seeing, like, the failure, and the lack of acceptance, I would say, of something else being a solution.
Yes.
Because the egos that doctors get, and I understand, like, you're in this medical practice for 10 years of your life. You're giving up literally your health. Like,
Yeah.
I have a friend that is in medical school, and I just yesterday was just talking to her, and, she's the head of her class. She's in her clinics right now, and she's killing it. They're giving her all the responsibility, and we're talking, like, brain stuff, like actual neurosurgeon stuff, right? And she's so tired. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, isn't it crazy? You're in medical school to help benefit other people's health, to treat them better, when your health is probably worse than theirs.
It's diminishing.
And there is a name for it, and I forgot what the name is, but it's based off of the original practice of a doctor who got no sleep to beat everybody. So they adopted that practice, which is horrible. When you think
Wow.
about doctors having no sleep, that's the number one thing you need to have in life is sleep.
Right,
That's when you
right.
do all your recovery.
Right.
So it's horrible on that end. And she was like, yeah, man, it sucks. I'm sitting here with no sleep. I'm stressed out, and I'm like, it's crazy.
They do 12-hour, 18-hour shifts.
Yeah, man, and it's ridiculous, right? And how they
Sometimes
help with
24.
that. Yeah, and what they'll do is they'll throw a bed in there, a room with beds, and when you're not operating or doing anything, you take a nap. Like, okay,
nuts.
it's crazy. But I would it's good to see a lot of the. It's funny because people are, you're trying that new acupuncture, or that new cupping, or that new gua sha, or some herbs that's new. You're like, no, actually, believe it or not, this is way before modern Western medicine.
Yes.
And they were treating these things
2,000 years.
Exactly. I mean, people who are sitting there like, oh, cupping's new. No, cupping's been around for a while.
Wow. Leeches
Exactly.
as well.
Very, very big. Gua sha, people are like, oh, you got hickeys or anything? Like, no, that's gua sha. Oh, is that news? Like, no, actually, Aztecs were doing that with actual limestone, with oil, and just rubbing it on you. And they realized that you were getting rid of the scar tissue for the warriors to go out and hunt.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
So it's amazing how it's new to us, but it's so old and ancient, but it worked for a reason.
And to go into that a little bit, first I want to say that just like in Western medicine, there are bad doctors. In Eastern
Anything
medicine,
and everything you will do, there's a bad in any field.
Exactly. There's going to be people who are trying to take advantage of other people
course.
in Eastern medicine as well. So you've got to do your homework. You got to research. You got to get
A lot of trial and error.
a lot of trial and error. Find out from other people if they've had successes. So I just wanted to point that out because I hear a lot of people just saying that, especially even this morning, I got a comment that Chinese medicine is a forgery. I didn't even respond because there's no point.
Any person who does any form of education, you'll realize it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I have all my family goes to get acupuncture done, and it's not just like, oh, a needle, it's fixed. There's actual channels in your actual.
You feel
body.
it when they move
Exactly.
the needles. You feel it going through your body in those certain areas. It's
Exactly.
crazy.
Like if you pull up a diagram of the skeletal system and the vessels and everything that goes on, there was no argument against it that there are channels that lead from the thigh all the way down to the bottom foot that actually correlates with the brain. Actually, so there's nothing really to. I mean, you could say, someone could say, oh, hypothetically, it makes sense. No, it does because that's when you go out and acupuncture is in the same right now. Traditional Chinese medicine is in the same position that chiropractic practice was in years ago.
Yeah.
It was fake and it was based on a gimmick.
Yes.
But it had great intentions when it was brought. And, now we're starting to see chiropractors really blow up a lot, and people are going to them and it's finally good to see them going out. But there's tons of fakes out there.
Sure. Yep.
And that's why it's always good when you find a good doctor, spread the awareness, go out. That way people don't have to go through those downsides. That's why you start polluting the industry with positivity instead of negativity.
Yep.
And
that's actually what I did with my TCM doctor after I started healing because I was getting tons of comments from these herbalists. Hey, take these herbs; they'll help you or whatever. And I ignored those. But when I found out about mine, who's an actual dermatologist, on top of it, and knows about TCM or has education in TCM, then that's when I knew, and especially when other people are having great outcomes from her, that I need to try her out. And then once I tried her out, that's why I've been promoting her.
And as you
I've gotten no money. I don't expect any money. I've never asked for money from her. I just want people not to suffer through this condition.
Exactly, because once you suffer, you kind of understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, TCM is starting to blow up a little bit. It's very slow. But I actually have an actual one of her professors who's no longer teaching at the school, but she's really good. She was a number one. Apparently, I'm gonna try and get the stats on it, and then I'm gonna have her on the podcast. But she was a number one acupuncturist in China.
Wow.
So and she has some really big people in her school. So I'm gonna have a couple of them on the podcast because I'm generally interested in what's going on.
Is she local?
She is
Is it Dr. Her?
not Dr. Her.
Okay.
Dr. Sal.
Dr. Sal. Okay, I haven't heard
She's.
of that.
I met her, and I'm like, I saw her, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you know, the fast-paced doctors that had to get you in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's kind of like her, but not out of choice because
Okay.
she's so busy.
So
Everyone's
busy.
going to her, but she will never rush it. I was afraid of that, so I go to her. I bring my mom there. My mom has some health issues. She goes over there, and she was so kind. Mom was like, why do I have to fill all this paperwork out? I'm like, because they're trying to figure out what the root problem is. This
Yep.
isn't a generalization where you're like, oh, how's your sleep? How's this? You know,
Yep.
that's it. No, they want to know what's going on. They want to
Yep.
know how your gut is doing, if there's something that's going on with, you know, what you're taking in before you go to bed, and if that has a correlation why you're not getting sleep, you know, stuff like that.
Yep.
So they go into depth, and she gets, you know, needles put in her, and she feels great. You know, it's crazy, you know, how, you know, we overlook this in you know, in the Western medicine. You're like, wow, this is actually, it can cure a lot of stuff.
My wife's mom, she had back problems, went to an acupuncturist. They're gone now.
Yeah.
They're
You know what
gone.
the issue was?
No, I don't know exactly what it was, but she was having a lot of pain and got rid of it. Doesn't have to go to her anymore.
Yeah.
Where, you know, if you go to a Western medicine doctor, you'd be on pain pills for the rest of your life.
Exactly. You know, we just throw a label on it, you know, and you just Band-Aid it up, and you give us money for it.
Yep.
And everybody lives, and everyone's
Keep coming
happy
back.
with it, right?
Subscription-based
Would you destroy your
business.
kidney and livers? But, you know, it's okay.
Yeah. Hey, but then we'll make money off of that too.
Exactly, right? So, yeah, it'll be all right. You know, as
We'll
long
be
as
on
you got your health
dialysis. We'll
insurance.
keep making money.
Yeah, exactly. It's the dumbest thing in the world. And,
Yeah.
you know, you look at it, and you're like, damn, bro, America sucks right now.
Yeah.
It's what, but, you know, there are good and bads, you know,
Yep.
and the
There are
best
pros and
part
cons.
is to hold biases to a minimum. You know,
Yep.
You really want to look at everything. And that's actually one thing that pisses people off is when you can have an unbiased opinion, hear someone out and agree with them.
Both sides. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
And but that doesn't happen with doctors because, like you saw in that comment section, you're sitting here like, man, these doctors are really having an ego battle. No, I'm right. No, I'm right.
Yeah.
You ever think about the body's very complex and then not everybody's going to be right?
And we
there's
haven't
different
figured
fields?
everything out.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, just because we haven't got the science for topical steroid withdrawal yet doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Yeah. You're in the field to help people, so let's help people listen to each other's opinions and what we can actually grab. Because
Yep.
even if they're wrong, you can grab some form of positivity out of there
Yep.
and grow your own practice that way. There's no reason why you should be having an ego battle in the comments because
Yep.
you do know thousands of people are looking. That's why you're having an ego battle.
Yeah.
Because people are watching
But they're also, it's easy for them because they're hiding behind
a screen.
a screen and they're hiding behind a name that's not their real name because they would, you know, they'd probably lose a lot of
That's the bad
customers.
side about TikTok, you know,
Yep.
or any social media platform.
That's why I reply now. I'm like, why don't you do a video reply and don't hide your
let's
face?
do this right now, right? Yeah.
I'm happy to discuss and have a dialogue. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how it should be, you know.
Yep.
And then that's how you'll confront, and you'll know someone's fake, or
Yep.
if they're really self-conscious, you'll be like, okay, so what you were saying wasn't real. Like you have an issue going on right here,
Yep.
and some of those people are doctors, and you're like, damn, you know, that sucks how that happens.
Yep.
No, I've had an issue with this for a while now, and it sucks to see people go through it, but it's also kind of good because sometimes that's, you know, when you go through it, you're like, okay,
It helps you feel
see the
like you're doing the
holes
right
here.
thing. Yeah.
Exactly, you know, and then, you know, it's just, it's just mind blowing to me. But my next question would be is, you know, now that you've gone right and you've beaten this and you're spreading awareness, you know, are you gonna go see an acupuncturist now that you can to help with anything that you may have going on?
Yeah, actually, so my old symptoms came back right before I started taking the Allegra. So I've got a little bit of nasal congestion.
The original reason why this started.
All of this it's come back. So I'm healed up. That's come back. But this time I'm not taking Allegra, obviously.
Okay.
So I'm not starting that cycle over. But yeah, so I actually asked my TCM dermatologist in Chicago if she can help me with that. She goes, no, unfortunately, I only work on skin. But I've got a really good colleague recommendation here in Clearwater. And so I'm going to go to her, and she's got amazing testimonials.
Yep.
What's
her name? Is that the one you
Dr.
mentioned?
Her. Yep.
Dr. Her.
And she's got amazing testimonials. People with allergies gone, like healed out of them. A woman who couldn't get pregnant got pregnant.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
That's one thing they actually learn a lot in school is pregnancy and why there's a lot of miscarriages and why there's a lot of stuff going on, why the blood supply is restricted and you can't go. Actually, we have a family in our a family member. She had a hard time getting pregnant, and you know, to throw some positivity in this conversation on modern Western medicine, we're actually starting to implement more acupuncturists in hospitals now.
We are.
Because it's proven. She actually had a hard time with miscarriages, and once it's all done, the doctors have no hope, and they're like, okay, well, I guess we'll recommend you to an acupuncturist. She goes over there, she gets it, she gets treated, and she has a kid.
And that's amazing. That's I love hearing that kind of stuff.
Now we have a family member because of that.
That's
Another
amazing.
one.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how that is, and now they're implementing them in hospitals. I think we actually just got our first one in St. Jude's.
So that's awesome to hear as well. I actually had experience with my best friend since childhood. His father is a surgeon in the military.
Okay.
But I think it was I had a little bit of back pain or something. I think it was back in 2013. I think something like that. And he goes, "Why don't you come on over to onto base? I'll get you in. Let me try some acupuncture on you." So already in the military, they're starting to teach doctors about acupuncture.
That's tough, man. That's tough because they get it the worst too. They just get slapped labels crazy.
Yeah,
in and out of service.
Yeah, but they're implementing it.
Yeah, as they should.
So he tried it on me, and it didn't help. I don't know if he was well versed enough in it, but he goes, "Let me try."
Yeah, I will say this from what I know is that's one of the most difficult fields to do.
For sure.
Because there's so many channels and you're off by a little centimeter.
Yep.
It can either really hurt or it won't have an effect on you.
Yep.
So it's very hard to find a legit one. And that's why Brianna's like getting trained under one of the best ones so she can understand what errors not to make. Because I'm not going to say it, but I've had a few.
A little bit of guinea pig.
Yeah.
Test dummy.
Yeah.
A poke.
Which is really cool because what their school does is they bring in, So a lot of people who go into TCM at her school, they've had some family member suffer through some issue, whether it's them or somebody close to them that makes them go that route.
Yes.
So what they'll do is they're like, okay, well, that person that you are in here for, bring them in.
Yep.
We'll use them because you're allowed to bring someone in, and the actual professor, the actual doctor sits there and is like, okay, this is your problem. And they'll bring that person who, let's say you had a mother, that had issues, and you're in that school, all right, bring your mother in, let's see what happens. They bring them in, they'll let you learn on her. So it's this beautiful connection between, mother or whatever family member is with that person.
Yep.
And then they guide them how to actually help that situation, which is crazy. So, Brianna was sitting there, she goes, "Oh, you should ask him if he can come in." And I was like, okay, well, you can ask him yourself, see what he wants. But she's going to be excited to hear what you have to say about who you're going to see and all that. She loves stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So acupuncture is very, very hard to find somebody. I would also recommend for you to maybe go just because of lack. I'm assuming you were very uncomfortable for a very long time in sleeping. So I'm assuming a lot of posture over time got probably sacrificed a little bit.
Oh yeah, we have a good friend. His girlfriend is in physical therapy, and she's taught me to do like this exercise where for 5 seconds I push my neck back like this and hold it, because I do have some of my spine sticking out here. I slept on a couch. And I didn't sleep laying on my back. I slept up, like inclined. Yeah, that was just the most comfortable way for me to sleep. And because of the my body had problems with thermoregulating. So 1 second I'd be really hot, 1 second I'd be really cold. I would get under covers, sauna within a minute underneath. Then I'd uncover and I'd be freezing in a minute.
Shivering, yeah.
Yeah. So it was just the easiest way to have a blanket on me while at the same time a fan blowing at me.
So yeah, happy medium, right?
Yeah.
Even if that was working for you.
Yep.
Definitely, I would recommend seeing a chiropractor. Probably someone that offers an X-ray. Don't trust a chiropractor that doesn't offer an X-ray.
Yeah.
Because there's proof in an X-ray. You can see, like Brianna's currently seeing a chiropractor, and they offer X-rays, and they look over her X-rays every month to see the improvement that's going on with her C7 and what's going on in the back of her neck. That's her main issue, and you can see the improvement there, and they're really great. And then a chiropractor that doesn't say, okay, you're fixed, that you shouldn't trust that either, because a chiropractor should go, okay, now that we fix you, we have you aligned, right? Let's go ahead and see why you were out of line. Okay, it's your posture. You're looking at your phone this long, so let's recommend you to a physical therapist, or I recommend, like you were, bring your chin back every 5 minutes.
Yep.
Shoulders back. Let's have a great posture.
Yep.
Those are the kind of chiropractors you want to go to, because just like any other field,
they're fixing the root cause.
Exactly, it's the same thing. In every field, it's going to have somebody who doesn't really care. It's not that well versed. So if you do go to a chiropractor, I recommend finding somebody who offers X-rays and physical therapy. They offer that, or a recommendation of physical therapy.
Okay.
Those two go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And it makes sense why your spine needs to be aligned, because your nervous system is wrapped around the spine. So if the spine's out of line, it's going to compensate. Nerves are getting pressed, and then something's going to happen down that road.
Yep.
So definitely, I would look for that. And actually, having a proper aligned spine will actually help with thermal regulation in your body. just keep that in mind as well.
That's a good suggestion. Thank you.
No, yeah, for sure. But it's crazy to see, you know, you actually go through that for that long and actually find a solution. Because I was rooting for you for a while, you know.
Thanks.
I was like, man, this guy's got to find something. Because I was tracking your story, and like I'd be in bed just I'm like, oh, you see him?
I was
and I
all
was
the
sitting
time.
there, you know. I would show her, and I'd be like, look, he's actually making progress. She'd be like, that's crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And then I even showed Tristan, the guy with eczema. I was like, look, and he's like, man, my eczema's never been that bad.
Yeah.
And he even said it himself, he goes, dude, I don't even know if I could live. I was like, you know, he's like, I think I would actually be suicidal. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he probably had some thoughts, you know.
Twice.
Yeah. No, with the pain and everything, when there's no hope down the line, you know,
Yep.
it happens a lot with people who are just at that wall. They want to give up.
Yep.
You know? So good to see you made it all the time.
Thank you.
It
Yeah,
really
it
means
was,
a lot.
that's 100% my wife. I mean, like I said, and if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had a mic for you so we can get a little bit more your input, but you know, maybe that's a good thing. She might embarrass you a little bit. She might tell some secrets. What did you do though to like occupy yourself from itching?
So
Because you can't work, you can't go out in
Can't
the
work,
sun,
can't
can't
go-
really do anything. You're at
No.
home a lot.
no.
What are you doing to get your mind off?
Watch shows and play video games because that was just my thumbs moving. You know.
Keeps your hands too busy. Something.
Keep-
And when you're playing,
exactly.
it's weird when you're. Yeah, that's the same thing. So when I was a kid, when I was really sick, I had a flu. I would always play video games because I would always focus on blowing my nose, and then I would get like a rash or get irritated, skin would fall off, and then it would cause a headache. So I would just sit there. I'm like, my God, this sucks. So when I played video games, I realized I wasn't really paying attention to the nose.
Yeah.
So it makes sense what you're saying right there.
Yeah. That and then I tried to get through school doing that. That was very difficult. I got a certification in Salesforce. I don't know if you're familiar, but that's it. And now, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
So
but
just anything to keep the mind busy.
yeah, anything to keep the hands away from itching.
Yeah. What games did you play?
Mainly, what was it? There's Halo Infinite when that came out.
Good deal.
Yeah, started playing that because I played Halo when I was a kid.
I mean, everyone
Yeah,
has, right?
yeah.
That's OG stuff.
Yeah, OG stuff. What else was there? I don't know. I think my buddy got me Game Pass, and then I was downloading,
Dabbling anything.
dabbling in
Yeah.
various games. Yeah, and just
That makes sense. And then just TV shows and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering. I'm like, man, I wonder how he's keeping his hands busy. Because
Yeah.
it's almost the same thing as a person who's addicted to cigarettes. People don't realize when you're addicted to cigarettes, it's obviously the addiction that makes you want
and
to come back.
holding the cigarette.
It's this. That's why people who tend to quit smoking, they usually get fat because their hands are not being kept busy on food.
Ah,
They're doing this a lot.
never thought about that. Yeah, makes sense.
It's a very high rate that people who quit cigarettes tend to get a little heavier because their hands need to be kept busy. When I quit cigarettes, I realized I was doing this a lot. I was flicking my finger like that because you're flicking the ash off the cigarette.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at her? She smoke?
No, she doesn't.
okay.
No,
I was gonna say.
no, she does not smoke. no.
Okay. Yeah, but my hands were busy doing this, you know, so I realized that, that makes sense why people get fat, you know. So I was drawing that line of distinction with you because you're probably used to doing this
Yep.
and that, and then you're like, your hands now are like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Kinda deal.
Yeah, and actually sometimes my hands will drift over my
Naturally, out of habit.
out of habit, but there's no itching, so I'm not sitting there and scratching.
Yeah, I bet it's weird. You're like, no, I'm not itchy. I'm good.
Yeah. And I don't feel any scabs or any, also another thing would be that these were like really superficial scabs because they're plasma. So they would be yellow and they would be crusty, but they wouldn't be bloody, at least not until the very end.
Yeah, until you really do some damage on it from scratching, right?
Well, not only that, but once you start, your skin starts creating its barrier again, when you do start scratching towards the end, you do bleed. You start bleeding rather than yellow plasma
Really?
coming out. And that's when your final scabs are coming in.
Really?
And you've healed back because on top of the ooze that's coming out, you've thinned out your skin. So there's a Japanese doctor called Dr. Sato who says that don't fight yourself from itching. That's just part of the condition. Don't
Okay.
hate yourself for doing that. Don't beat yourself up for it because what's happening is since you stop the topical steroids, your body isn't creating layers of skin on its own. You have to break it, let it
It's a process.
weave back over,
Kinda, yeah.
break it, weave back over, break it.
Wow.
So you have to go through this.
So you would say almost as you should itch and scratch or
Allow yourself to.
Okay.
Don't beat yourself up over it. Like try not to do it. Don't overdo it, but don't
forgiven.
forgive yourself for it. Don't beat yourself because oftentimes I would start feeling like, man, I've really healed up a lot compared to what I had been a week ago. And then boom, just a flare up, and I just scratch everything.
And then
and
all
I
that progress you made, it's like playing a long game. You
Yes.
get to the end, you die, and you're like, Jesus, now I have to go through all that again.
Yes,
I don't even want to
exactly.
play this
Yeah,
game.
it's
So
like
in your head, you're
Elden Ring.
yeah, literally like Elden Ring.
It's like
yeah.
Elden Ring. And so so basically that's what you're going through, and that's what he says. He's like, forgive yourself, because I would just sit there and beat myself up over it, and yeah. But then he also has a protocol. There's a certain, because some people moisturize their way through, and then others do something called a non-moisture therapy.
Okay.
And he came up with this in the 90s because he has thousands of people come through his hospital for topical steroid withdrawal, this Japanese doctor in Okinawa. And he came up with this protocol, and I did it for the first 5 months, which is you dehydrate your body. You only drink up to 1.5 liters a day, and that includes food. So soups, if you're eating a watermelon, apple, whatever, all those have, liquid in them. So you have to count all that. And you're only allowed to drink 1.5 liters a day. And what's happening is when you dehydrate the body, then there's less ooze coming out. And now your skin is dry. And when it's dry, it's super agonizing to go through this protocol. But I went through it. It helped a ton to get through for the first 5 months. Very agonizing. But there are people who get through topical steroid withdrawal, some of them in a year, if they stick with it. Not only that, you've got to exercise daily for an hour, get your heart rate up to 120 beats per minute. So that way it gets your lymphatic system going. Yeah. So at the same time, you're stopping the oozing and now forcing your body to create its own oils again. It may sound weird or odd, but I've seen so many people.
No, I mean, it makes sense. I'm trying to figure out what the double edge is on that. I'm assuming the dehydration probably brings a lack of water retention.
Yep.
Meaning, so you're not going to want a lot of sodium in the body because sodium wouldn't actually retain the water, kind of like creatine doesn't actually at the same time. So I'm assuming the brain would probably take a little bit of a sacrifice on hydration as well. But It makes sense why it would help, though.
Yeah.
Because you eliminate the moisture out of the body.
Yep.
Therefore, there's less oozing going on. Therefore, you can actually allow yourself to heal.
Yep.
And then I'm assuming the working out, I'm trying to figure out how that correlates into the dehydration.
So he says the sweat that you produce, it has I forgot what it was, but it's very healing to the skin. Even though while you're going through TSW, it itches like
a motherfucker.
Yeah. I mean, that's all.
It's okay, man. Say it, man. They say it all, bro.
It itches like a motherfucker. And so your sweat, that's the double-edged sword, is that you're supposed to exercise. Not everyone does.
Yeah.
I didn't in the beginning.
I'm assuming so. It's conditional, too. It's how bad your condition is. Yeah. I can see you not working out because
no, I was not.
Anything you would bend, I'm assuming would crack.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yeah. It was like I was like this. I was walking around the house like this because I could not stretch out my arms. Yeah, and for the first, I would say 8 months, I was walking with my knees bent.
Because you didn't want to extend the back bits of your knee?
Because it would crack.
No.
Yeah, man. And I was walking around like, I don't know, like a penguin kind of waddling with my arms like this as well. I went to the bathroom once a day, and that, when I knew that I would have to go to the bathroom, I would hold it in as long as possible because all I could think about is...
because you knew what would have to come if you...
Right, because it was so painful, yeah. So...
It's gnarly.
It is.
So that method would be dehydrate the body, work out to help the sweat come out with whatever little sodium you have left in the body from your diet to help the healing process.
Yep.
So you could probably honestly just actually do some cardio in a sauna, and that would probably be more than enough. And that would actually probably feel a little bit better for the itchiness too, because the heat would actually kind of feel good.
No, heat for me was
bad, really.
Oh yeah, if I went out,
it didn't feel like it was itching. It's not like the same thing when you would like pat an itch, like it's like.
So yeah, towards the end, patting would have been better, but in the beginning,
interesting. Wow.
The itch was just so bone deep that no matter what, you just couldn't pat.
We're talking deep, like no matter what, it was like you really wanted.
I wanted to tear my skin off everywhere, except on my face. My face was.
That's what people who have drug use withdrawals feels like.
Maybe. Possibly.
Yeah, you went through the ringer, man.
Oh yeah, I definitely did, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
Yeah, there's a difference, kind of like an instant pain, and there's like a difference with like a really long.
Yeah. It was sometimes where I'd just be like, because my friends said the same thing, just slap it. I'm like, this is not just slapping, because slapping is on the outside. This is like slap, like I want to freaking rip into it.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, no, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm trying to figure out, because I just broke my collarbone and I just got clean out of the sling, and I had to like, just like you, I'm sitting here and I cannot sleep. I sleep on my side all the time, or on my stomach, and I can't roll. And I would sleep on my left side, which is where I broke this. So I just had to sit in bed like this.
Yeah.
And then if I rolled, the muscles would activate and it would try to hold the collarbone from floating. So it would hurt the collarbone. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I actually ended up sleeping on the couch, because I would be tossing and turning in my room. And Brown would be like, please. And I'm like, I'm trying to get comfy,
Yeah.
So I'll be like, she's got work. she got school. I can't do this. I would sleep on the couch, and she would walk out, and she would just catch me sleeping up like this.
Yep.
You know, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like falling asleep, and then she's like, "Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm definitely have to see a chiropractor after this. You know, just to help with."
My wife said the same thing with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. You can fall asleep standing up. Or like
Yeah, you
even,
can.
Like, yeah, you
I
realize
never
you
could
can
before.
realize you hear the stories of like Navy SEALs and all that stuff. You're like, no way, and then you're sitting there like, oh no, yeah, you can.
Yeah, for sure. I was. She can sleep because since we would travel to Poland, she can sleep in the plane. I never could.
No?
To me, I could never fall asleep. But I think after TSW,
You could probably fall asleep.
I'm just gonna be like this the entire 8
Is it
hour
more of
flight.
like an anxiety thing for you, or
It
was it
just
just
wasn't
like a
comfortable.
posture thing?
Posture thing wasn't comfortable for
Oh
me.
no, you'll sleep now.
Yeah,
Trust me, you can
yeah,
sleep
I've
now.
learned. I've definitely learned to fall asleep.
Yeah, people who can't sleep because of anxiety usually will take like some form of like drug to help them fall asleep, which is crazy. But yeah, I can fall asleep kinda. I get more anxiety off it, but then I'll be in and out. But I can fall asleep in anything, man. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
As a kid, I could not fall asleep in my bed, so my mom would just drive me around the block. It only took 3 turns around the block.
Oh,
But that's a double-edged sword now, because anytime if I'm not driving, if I'm in the car, I'm not kidding, on a timer,
You're falling asleep.
more than 12 minutes, I am out.
Oh.
People are like, how you fall asleep on road trips? I'm like,
Condition your
"Baby."
brain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even when I'm driving in the car for a long time, if I'm on the highway long enough, it's with everybody. If you see those white lines, I'm like, okay, this is not good.
And see, I've been opposite. We travel. My parents built up their business, and my brother and sister they didn't have this opportunity. But I was born 15 years after my brother and sister, 16 years, and my parents.
You're the youngest.
I am. Yeah,
That's a big gap.
big gap. I was an oops baby for sure.
You're a what?
Oops baby.
I love it. An oops, baby.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, so
I love it. That's the same. With my,
definitely. I was not planned.
it's the same thing with my younger sister. She's about 10 years younger than me. Not 16, but that's a bigger gap. But like, yeah, she was an oops baby too. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's always what they said. I mean,
Oops.
Yeah, and and my parents they call me the travel child because they took me everywhere because they had built up their business. And
Of course, you know that's the youngest gets to spoil the most.
yeah, I got spoiled the most, and I'm very thankful because I've traveled all over the world thanks to them. But we would we've driven all over the United States, and I would nap sometimes, but for the most part, I was up and watching everything, looking at all the sites, and they loved real estate, so we drive through neighborhoods and check them out. And so now I love driving. That's my
Really.
peaceful moment. Oh yeah, whenever
Some people like that who get in this weird zen.
I'm in a zen, yeah, when I drive.
And people don't know, like people think meditation is more like like an empty thought. Meditation's not. It's
Yeah.
focusing on one solid thing,
Uh-huh.
taking your attention that blocks out the rest.
Yep.
You know, people can find meditation in work. You know, there's some people I know who screen print, and when they screen print, they are in a zen. They're in there, they won't pay attention because it's the same repetitive motion. You go like this,
Yep.
like this. It's the same thing with driving. You stay in 2 lines. You know, especially when you're on a highway or a long road, that's
Yep.
when you'll be at your most zen. You got the music going. You're not even really paying attention
To the music,
It's
no.
just like a background noise.
Yep.
You're just in this zen. You know,
Yep.
not me though. I'll fucking fall asleep. I will fall asleep like
Yeah.
this, bro. I'm not even.
I get it,
kidding.
I get it.
I'm horrible. Speaking of family, though, how do your mom and dad feel now seeing you better?
Of course, they're so grateful. They've always, growing up, it's always, especially in Polish culture, you always say to each other, health is the most important thing.
It's in the culture, kind of think like that.
Yep. And, but I would never understand it. I understood it, but I never
Really
empathized
understood the
with
value of it.
Yeah, I never understood the value of
the
it, yeah.
value in that, and that's actually a lot of born foreign kids in America. We don't really understand meanings like that until
Yep.
like either we go through it or we see our family members go through, or you just wisdom, and over time you kind of like feel it over time.
Yeah, yeah. My parents had a hard time with it. My mom only visited once. I think it was just so difficult for her to see me in the state I was in. My dad came a few times because they're up in the Panhandle, 6 hours away. I didn't ever expect him to really drive down here, so I get that. But my brother came as well, and yeah, it was difficult. It was. I get it. I totally understand. It's hard.
So, what were you doing before this all happened? Were you in school?
So we moved down here. I was doing real estate for I did real estate for 8 years. But I did it during the foreclosure market. So my specialty was foreclosures. And once that dried up, I'm not one to really paint pictures for people. I like to give you the facts, walk in, look, there's these issues, this. Do you like it or not? Well, I'm not much to paint pictures. And, Olivia has her master's in environmental engineering. There's just nothing like that back in the Panhandle. Destin's a tiny town. So we decided to move down here to Tampa, where my best friend from childhood went to college at USF, and he was basically he was the first person we knew here. So we moved down here, and I was going to go to school for cybersecurity. And should I say what happened? Yeah. So I mean, I had also stopped real estate, and I wanted to work for myself, and I taught myself how to trade crypto.
Nice.
And I worked my way up to 33 Bitcoin.
Okay.
And then on a visit back from Poland, I was leaving earlier. She was going to meet up 2 weeks later back home. She stayed a little bit longer, and I was on the Frankfurt airport in Germany, and I was trading. And I think to myself, this would be a great place
to get. Oh no!
Because the network's open. I'm like, but no one's gonna target me. Like there's
You actually got targeted.
And 2 days after I got home, I tried to log onto my account. Gone, everything gone. And I mean, my first thing is I mean the skills are still there, obviously, but so I could work my way up eventually again. But in my head, I was like, she's gonna leave me.
Yeah, there's the money.
I had taken my savings and I had put it into Bitcoin, worked it up, and that happened.
They make bags for that, like backpacks and stuff like that will help a block a signal, or anybody can actually try and get in. Because that's a very big thing with traveling. When you're traveling in like foreign countries, people can actually, that's like their number one thing to do.
Well, I messed up because I just connected to the open network.
Yeah, no.
So, and that was dumb. That was really dumb, especially since I was going to come here for a cybersecurity boot camp. That was the dumbest decision.
Man, I'm so sorry about
that.
But
it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And so now...
Right, so you gonna try to go back into that, or are you?
No, I kind of stung me.
Stung you a little bit.
And I haven't touched trading since then. I will get back into trading, but first I need to find a job, especially after being sick for so long. I need to have a stable income, and I won't be doing day trading. I'll be doing longer term investments.
Okay, yeah.
So that way, just because it's stressful.
No, it's an everyday thing.
It's an everyday thing.
I mean, it's like a full time job.
Yeah,
you're literally just monitoring
just
everything.
Watching it. Yep.
That's how it is. So, are you going to pursue anything with cybersecurity still, or are you going to?
No, that bit me hard. Maybe in the future, but right now, so I was doing an online school when I was sick for software development, and I was learning to code. But being in the state that I was in for so long, being sick and bedridden, sitting on that couch, and learning to code, I'm like, I was miserable. When I healed up. Just this past month or so, I was like, oh, I want to be around people. I thought that I wanted to be in front of the computer, not have to interact, kind of have that remote job, do whatever I want from home. But now I'm like gung-ho about, I want to be back around people because I got burned out in real estate. I would be a therapist. People would call me freaking at 6 a.m. All the way to 11 p.m. talk about their dog or their divorce, or should I be buying this house with Sam? I mean, all this stuff, that kind of burned me out. And so that's why I thought that I didn't want to be around people. But after being sick for so long, I'm loving every moment to interact with others. And
it's a human thing too. So we're not meant to be literally by ourselves. We're meant that. I mean, you can have a small group, but we're still socializing through that small group.
Yep.
We're meant to socialize.
Yep. And even when you're on the computer, you're socializing with others.
Literally, people don't understand, like, oh, I'm antisocial. No, you're social.
No, you're social. You don't know.
You're just not used to being social in front of people.
Yeah.
You're focusing on everybody around you, judging you, whatever it may be,
Yep.
But you're still socializing through a computer,
Yeah.
Like, even if it'd be like, oh, I just watch YouTube. That's a form of socializing. You're just a little creepy, but you just watch it.
Yeah,
You're kind of like a people watcher.
You're a little bit of a voyeur.
Yeah, literally.
But that's all right.
So
we all are.
So you're thinking a job more that's more person to person, kind of like.
Yeah. So I've now switched my old college transcripts over to an online school because that one was not accredited.
Okay. All right.
So I switched over to an online school that's accredited here in the U.S. and for business administration and IT management.
Okay, I see.
So that way I can do still work on the project because I love tech.
Yeah.
I've always loved tech.
You're
I
in
love
both
computer.
worlds here.
I'm sorry?
You're in both worlds through this way.
Yeah. That way I can still be a part of the projects, but not sit there and code the entire time.
Exactly, and that can get dreadful too at the same time. So you, I'm not going to tell you where you live, but I know where you live, kind of like in the...
That's okay. I've told people Clearwater.
Okay, Clearwater.
Yeah.
with how's that been for you guys? Because I know with the market of the housing and rent going up and everything.
So we dodged a huge bullet.
Okay, something worked in your favor through this, is what
Yes.
you're telling me. Okay.
For sure. Well, I mean, when we moved here, we weren't sure what we were going to do, so we rented for a while.
Of course. Makes sense.
And basically, when all of this happened, Olivia got she was doing a waitressing job for how long was it? Because 2 years. Like, she had her master's degree, but she couldn't get a job. But she's like, I love her to death for this. She's like, I'm gonna go roll up my sleeves. She waitressed.
That's some gnarly stuff. Where'd you waitress at? Where did you work at for waitressing?
In South Tampa,
Never heard.
really south.
No.
It's at the
No, never heard of it. No.
yeah the top
Still
of.
go?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
go
Oh,
back.
really?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Never heard of it.
At the
Wow.
very end, yeah, it's really good. And so she rolled up her sleeves and did that. And then my good friend from childhood, his ex-wife was working at Duke Energy, and helped get Olivia an interview, and that
Nice.
was actually in her field. So she got it and was able to qualify for a home. And then we
You
went,
bought a home
yeah, we went
right before everything went crazy.
Yep, and then we moved out a month before our rent popped up from $1,300 to $1,900.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's crazy. Yeah, right now it's crazy.
yeah. So we
Wow. I'm glad that
good.
worked in your favor because I was wondering, I'm like, he can't work. I know she's working as hard as she can probably. And I'm like, man, I hope they're getting help or anything, whatever it may be.
yeah we qualified where she can take care of it. Luckily, yeah, we made it in, and we're actually a little bit close to Dunedin, so we've got a nice little bike ride over there, and then we can bike ride in 10 minutes down to the beach.
Nice. You're in a good spot.
We're in a good
I
spot.
bet you're seeing that beach a lot.
We just drove down Pinellas Trail for the first time the other day. Yeah. Wow, that's a long ride. Yeah, yeah. We want to do the whole trail if we can one day. Yeah, that's the challenge we wanted to overcome.
Well, you can do it. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
get a good bike. I don't know what kind of bikes you guys have.
We have Treks.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we have good bikes. We do like the bike ride.
Yeah, this kid's all about bike riding. Every
Yeah.
Sunday, he's in there.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yep. Yeah, and yep, and then most of their bikes are hybrid, so it's like mountain biking or riding on. Yep, I think ours is too. I'm not that familiar with bikes, but Olivia is more so. Yeah, because her whole family, like,
That's a thing.
they'll put the babies on little seats on the back, like the whole it's amazing. And now those little babies are grown up girls, and they love it. They love being outside. They love hiking. They love going on
Good
trails.
deal.
It's because they were taught from a young age.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now you're here. I'm sure you're gonna make the most of it as you can.
Oh yeah.
Get
Oh
as
yeah.
much bike riding as you can, as much sun.
Oh yeah.
Are you a little nervous or anything like that? Like anything may come back a little bit? Or are you always like on that back of your head, kind of?
Yeah. So when I hear those doctors, they're like, he's definitely gonna flare back up. I'm like,
There's a little seed in the back of the head.
yeah,
like,
it grows a little bit. I'm like, oh shit, maybe. But at this entire time, I've been right. So you know what? Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like in your head, like, why am I exactly? Like,
I just need to remind myself I've proven you guys wrong. Why would you suddenly be right when
exactly.
I mean,
And I'm
and then
sure.
there's so many people in the forums who have healed, and they continue to show pictures to continue encouraging others to keep fighting and not to take steroids, and you get out of this. That I need to remind myself that others have healed too.
Yeah, you did yours organic, which is the thing. Not a lot of people can do that. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, we're talking organic. Like, there's no other outside drugs to cover up
Yep.
to use, and then having to get off that once you're done with that. There's none of that, or trial and error if you find a good one like that. You went your route organic. You will.
There was even a point where
That's tough, man.
I found a doctor who was not found. It was the doctor I was going to prior to when I was still trying to figure out topical steroid withdrawal. And eventually I circled back to him and I was like, hey, I just need guidance, not guidance, but I just need acceptance that this is the way I want to heal. And if I do have any need for antibiotics or something, can you help me? He's like, yeah, I got your back. I'm not going to push steroids on you. If this is what you think you have. I don't necessarily believe in it. But if an infection comes up or if you need pain medication, I was like, no, that's way too far. I don't need to
Slow your roll, man.
I don't need to get addicted to pain meds. I was like, no. But if I need antibiotics, can I come to you without you being like, no, because you're not following protocol and taking topical steroids or oral steroids. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, if you do take any sort of antibiotic, make sure you take a good pre and probiotic once you're done. Get that flora again.
I didn't need it, didn't do it.
Yeah, good deal.
Yeah, so.
Well, that's good. No, seriously, that's really good. You're taking your diet a lot more serious. I'm assuming like what you're eating.
So yes, my diet's changed, but lately
I don't blame you. Hold on, listen, man. I do not blame you for splurging.
I splurged a bit because I was on such a strict diet that I didn't touch any fast food for almost 2 years. And so.
So what are we talking here? What's the damage looking like?
A couple times, or I'd say 3 times Taco Bell the past month.
Okay.
1 time McDonald's, 1 time Wendy's.
Wendy's is good.
And a few pizzas.
Them sea salt fries are good.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Everyone says McDonald's. I'm like, no, Wendy's fries are the best.
I'm sitting there, people are like, you're a vegan? I'm like, yeah, I still have some fries though once in a while. I'll drive by Wendy's and I'll be like, I want some sea salt fries.
Yeah.
You know? It's
amazing.
So good. It's so good, man. It's so good. That's not that bad. You're not going crazy, but I mean.
No, it's not like every day. No.
So excluding that, what's your diet like?
Excluding that is mainly steamed vegetables, a small amount of meat, and rice or some kind of rice noodles, or we'll do curry, stuff like that.
Curry's really good for the gut. Very good stuff.
Yep. And I started drinking kombucha again because I love kombucha. Where before we were worried that could be upsetting the skin or something like that.
Why would that in your eyes upset the skin?
I think it's because of the alcohol. There's trace amounts of alcohol. Yeah, and I didn't.
Fermented.
Yep. So I only had wine maybe like 5 times during that entire time. I never had any beer or anything like that. And but now I've splurged on a few beers. I've splurged on drinking.
Man, you're good now, right?
And even my TCM doctor, she's like, because I came home, I think it was 3 weeks ago. I went out with friends and I was fine. At least I thought. But in the middle of the night, I woke up and threw up, and the next day I told my TCM doctor because I had a meeting with her, and she's like, you know what? It's all right. She goes, I'm so happy that you went out and celebrated your health.
Yeah, that's a good throw. We'll call it a good throw up.
She's like, it's good for your mental health.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm happy that.
Because that's what matters more, because without the mental health, you're not going to be able to pursue whatever it is you're doing, regardless if it's beating what you had or the healing after. Like that's the hardest part. That's what got you through this,
Yes, is having this, keep pushing forward mentally because, yeah.
Because the body you could take, it's the mental. If that breaks, then you're compromised.
Yep.
Because the first thing that will break is the body.
Yep.
It's the mental that's gonna really hold you in place. So you're right, man. Like she's right. Have your days, man. Celebrate the small wins.
Yeah.
Every small victory you have celebrated. Especially for you when you couldn't celebrate for so long. I mean, you went through it, and not a lot of people can make it through that, man. Like it's hard.
I mean, I don't.
It's a torture. Let's not get that. It's a torture.
It is a torture, and I don't want to. I don't want to toot my own horn or anything because that's not what I'm doing. It's about every week, every 2 weeks, you see 1 or 2 people saying goodbye in the forums.
Yeah.
And I understand because I felt it too. And
you kind of sympathize. You understand what they're going through.
I empathize. Yeah. I know what they're going through. And I've tried, I do my best to talk to as many people as I can. I get a lot of messages from people who've seen my TikTok, and I answer every single one. I try to answer within 24 to 48 hours. So that way, whatever crisis they're going through, I don't want them to think that I'm forgetting about them or not thinking about them. Cause I know this is tough. So yeah. Definitely the mental aspect is a big deal.
For sure, man. No, I was sitting there and I was like, cause I'd be lying to you if I told you like, I'd be showing Brown. I'd be like, man, listen, man, I hope we don't see this guy leave. Like, because he's killing it. Because I would see those small victories, and you would post your processing. I'm sure that helps a lot of people too, and it's going to help them probably keep on that path before they.
I've had a lot of great comments, and that's the point of it. I hope to inspire so that they can keep pushing, because you can heal from this. And
100%. It's just withstanding it.
Yep, and because there are times where you doubt yourself. There were a few times where I was like, "What if this is severe eczema?" I'm like, "But wait a second, I didn't have this prior to the topical steroid, so you don't just all of a sudden get severe eczema. That doesn't
Exactly.
make sense. Out of nowhere,
But in
after
the
30
mind,
years in your
in the pressure, you're sitting there, you're thinking, but what if?
yep.
You know, but then in your head, when you use logic in that point, you're like, there's no way I could have it. Why would that make sense? You know?
Yep. You just can't let the emotion take over because both do not work at the same time in the brain. If
No.
you're being logical, the emotional side shuts down. If you're being emotional,
Yep.
the logical side shuts down.
Exactly. It's just catching yourself in that thought.
Yep.
You know, and then like revisiting is like, all right, hold on, before we make a decision, you know, that's the analytical side of me.
Yep.
You know? It's like I'm always analytical.
Let's
everything.
revisit the facts.
Exactly, and that's my double-edged sword. Is I don't think emotionally sometimes. I think too analytical. You know,
Sure.
sometimes when you want emotion in there,
Yeah.
because it'll help you become a better human, have a better conversation. You know,
And the emotion helped with instinct too.
Yeah.
And I knew that the science says it's wrong, but everything else in me, I knew that these were not the same symptoms. So I was like, no way. I just need to keep reminding myself, no way. Yeah.
I get it. No, I really, and I'm assuming you're enjoying your showers a lot more.
Oh man, I'm
We talking bubble baths?
haven't done a bubble bath yet, and I actually have a
We
few.
got to do a bubble bath with wine. You get him to do a bubble bath with some wine.
We that's funny actually. We actually have a product that's very very kind company sent in the very beginning, but I couldn't tolerate water enough to be in the bath. So now I need to review it for them. It's an oatmeal type product, oatmeal bath type product. So I will review it for
Oatmeal's
them.
great for the skin.
Yeah.
It's really good for the skin. It's actually one of the main ingredients in dog shampoos.
Yep. I know.
Use that in oatmeal or aloe vera or something like that. You know, that's really good. Yeah. So showers are good for the view for listeners at home. Showers are torturous for you.
Yes.
Torturous.
Yep.
Cold or hot, right?
Cold or hot, and I actually cold were just a little bit less painful, and my showers did not last longer than 2 minutes. I would count down from 120 in my head.
Sponge bath, maybe sponge baths.
No,
probably, or anything like
it
that?
was more like get in there. It would be like acid on my skin. Any type of moisture, whether it was hitting me like a shower or just lightly being touched by water, it was like my skin would start to turn red and it would just burn. I would wash my hands like it would be like running it under the faucet, done, get it all wet, dry it out.
I can imagine a psychological issue you would have with even washing your hands, getting yourself to wash your hands.
So the hands wasn't as bad as psyching myself up for the shower every time. I mean, there were a few times where I just
Wouldn't shower, I would assume.
Oh,
right?
yeah, there were times where I think the longest I went without a shower was 3 weeks.
I don't blame you. I probably wouldn't have showered.
And then I started kind of pushing myself every 3 days or so, and but it was like acid, and never over 2 minutes. And even today, I kind of have that.
That's what I'm saying. The psychological damage in your head, where you're like, because now you're second guessing. You're like, because instinct now it's become an instinct.
Yep.
In the head, like fear this.
Yep. I
This is
have
not good.
I have a fight or flight syndrome.
Yeah.
Kind of situation, but it's getting better, and I just jump in and feel no pain, and I'm good. And now I turn on music.
Oh yeah.
I dance
make
in
it
the
a
shower.
Thing.
Yeah.
Make it an event.
Yeah,
let's make it an event. Fuck it. Bring the
Yeah.
toothbrush in there too. Let's brush our teeth while we're at it. You know?
Yeah. So
Have you looked into anything for like monitoring your health? Like I know Apple Watch offers one, but that's not their main goal, because obviously Apple Watch is their desire to something else besides health. But like an Aura ring or even a Whoop strap, to monitor your health.
yeah, I've thought about it. Yeah. And I actually want to get an Apple Watch because I'm part of the Apple ecosphere.
Unfortunately, but fortunately.
You guys are Android fans?
No. It's fortunate that you are an Apple fan, but like you're sucked into it, so it's unfortunate.
Yes,
too,
yeah,
at the same
because
time.
that's what they do. They kind of
Get
suck
you
you
in
in.
there,
Yeah. But so I do want to get an Apple Watch, but right now just focusing on getting a job first, so that way I can.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, just a little recommendation. I always offer the Aura ring or the Ura ring, whatever it's called.
My brother has an Oura ring.
Yeah, it's on the finger. I like the Whoop. I didn't like the Whoop after, just because it offered only 2 sensors. Now there's 4. And it monitors your skin temp.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It monitors your oxygen level.
Okay.
On what your red blood cells are going through.
Yeah.
It monitors how many calories you're sleeping. It monitors how many times you go in your deep REM sleep, obviously. And how many times you've woken up. It goes through all these things, and it lets you know if you're going to get sick, too. So one of the big... I'll show him the app, but like, yeah, I mean, shut up, Jeremy. But I'll show him after. But it's really good. And the reason why I recommend it is because it gives you the skin temp, and that's something you kind of gotta know for yourself.
Yeah.
It'll let you know when you're going up in percentage too. So even if you're getting sick too, something, because you're the worry if I was you, the worry I would have is when I get sick, what is it gonna be like? like a cold or a flu, you know, because your nervous system has been fighting for a while, right?
Well, I mean, to be honest, so when I was going through DSW, I had been around about 3 or 4 people, including my wife. She had gone through COVID, and because we were living together, I was like, I'm gonna get it anyway. So screw it. Yeah, fuck it. I ate it after her because I'm always that way. I don't like wasting food. So whatever she doesn't finish, I finish up after her. It's that old world mentality from my parents.
You beat me by like 2 seconds. You beat me by like 2 seconds. But yes, I know.
My parents were like that, so now I've got that,
Yeah.
and I just will not let her throw food away. I'll feel like I got to throw up from it. I'll finish it anyway and force it down.
Nice, I love it.
And so
You got COVID and it wasn't that bad. I'm assuming.
I did not get it.
Oh, you
I
did
was
not get it?
around. We slept in the same
Weird
bed.
how that
ate
works
after,
out, isn't it?
I was around 3 or 4 friends who had it. Didn't get it.
Yeah, the first 2 times I caught it, I didn't know I had it, but I was very like proactive on like always get myself checked because Brianna's mom lived with us before she passed. She had lupus, so we wanted, and she was on that list if anything were to happen.
Yeah,
you know, and that's actually what ended up kicking her out was the COVID.
Of course,
you know,
yeah.
she caught COVID, and then her body was already dealing with the lupus. Her nervous system and everything was so like weak that when she beat COVID, her body just failed. And she passed. But the thing with the skin type, will let you know with your blood oxygen level if you're gonna get COVID or get sick. That's all.
Okay.
You know, but go,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So that's interesting. So they've actually gathered the data for that.
Exactly.
Now.
That's why like Whoop and Apple hasn't done that yet. So I've always like if
smart.
Because you're on this health journey, I would say that's why I recommend it. I don't recommend Whoop to like the normal average person who doesn't care about lifting or their calories or their health in general.
Yeah.
But
and I imagine it's cheaper than the Apple Watch too.
Yeah, I would. I mean, the long haul, no, because you have to pay a membership fee because they're always updating their algorithms and they're always running, and it makes sense why you would pay that. Because, I mean, they've had 4 revisions of their Whoop strap.
Okay.
No, 3. Sorry, 3 revisions of their Whoop strap. So they're always growing their strap and they're adding new stuff in there. And when they upgrade, you get it for free. So they send you a new one of the better version. So it's not like Apple,
of
you
the
have
new
to buy a
strap.
new Apple Watch.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So like you request it and they send it to you and then they push with your old strap, give it to somebody who doesn't have it. They'll get 2 months free and you'll get a month free. So it's always it's never a thing where it's $30 a month and it depends how much you pay up front.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
for me, it's $30 a month and I'm always know that it's always getting better.
Oh, okay. So you pay up front and you get a discount. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I would
Never heard of
recommend
it.
that if you ever want to, especially with your sleep. You can monitor what you're healing, and that's also good information because it's an app you can send to your doctors.
Yeah.
You know, even they can know they can literally look analytically what's going on, like week by week, because it gives you a schedule and it gives you a monthly report of what you're looking like, and you can literally pair that to your doctor, whoever it is, and they can just pull up reports without even having to call you. They just look at it.
That's cool.
So,
Okay.
it's smart. It's their algorithm's always growing because I mean you know how
they
software
keep
is
gathering data.
exactly.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
cool.
when we leave, I'll show you real quick. And
Yeah.
I before we even end this podcast, which we're getting close to, is I'll introduce you to Brianna. That way she can recommend anybody, or she wants to probably know what your path is because she always likes to learn about
Sure.
TC
Yeah.
and what's going on. And you could even like if you were up for it, they could use you to teach what you went through because you have knowledge of something.
I would love to
Because you know this isn't an every. Yes, it happens a lot, but you're not seeing this every day.
Yeah.
You know, and if you can teach these future students who are going to be doctors, you know, that way they're not doing what your first TCM doctor did, you know.
Yeah.
We're going to prevent that. That's even better.
Yeah, so, that would be amazing. I'd love to.
You know, and this happens a lot with people when they go through something like that. They want to do good. You know, I want no one to go through this.
Yep.
And I speaks levels of where you're at right now. So, you know, congrats to you on that.
Yeah, thank you.
On that note, before we end, if you want to plug in your socials where people can find you.
Okay.
And then your name. And then all I ask is after we're done, just send me some information. So when I put a description on the good news is we're on Apple podcast now. So I could put your description on Apple and then Spotify of everything, your name, your first and last name, and your social stuff like that. Just send me that after.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep,
so
I'll
go
do
ahead
stuff.
and plug your stuff in.
So my name is Christopher Ignas. 33 years old. Went through topical steroid withdrawal, and my my handles everywhere is at topical roid rage.
He's not kidding.
Nope.
He's not kidding. That's where you can find him. Give him a follow. See what his journey's like in the future and the lives he's changing on his way. Because we're obviously spreading awareness. Because
Thank you.
what you went through shouldn't have never happened.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be happening to anyone, and children are going through it. Like, that's just the most heartbreaking. These poor children, months old, and already going through this kind of pain.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. You can only imagine, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, on that note, this will be available on Spotify, Anchor, and Apple iTunes. And we will have an actual TCM doctor in a couple of weeks here. The number one in China, apparently. I'll figure out the stats, and then we'll figure out what's going on, and then we'll talk more about that. That will come up again. And
I'll be watching.
I want to, because I think they would say that's more of a, they label it as a lack of dampness or an overwhelming amount of dampness.
Yes.
But I don't know what it is.
Yes, I think it's an. I don't know. I don't want to say. 'Cause I
Yeah,
don't know.
we'll figure out.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it, but you will come up again,
Thank
and I can link you up with them too if you ever want. Any person I can come across that can help you with that, and
Yeah.
more knowledge for you,
Yeah.
I'll link them your way too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I
Thank you
appreciate
for having
everybody. Of course, it was a pleasure, and thank you for being here as well. So it was a pleasure, guys.
All right.
That was beautiful. That was as good as you can get, man. You were really smooth to talk to.
Thank you. You do an awesome job because I saw the way you led this with